A reporter on the streets of Korea asks a simple question. What about 100 million? The replies are polite, predictable, and totally standard, so she switches the question. What if you actually became the single richest person on Earth? A woman says. She must know where that money originated before answering. The scene quickly cuts to a television studio where that exact broadcast is currently playing on a screen. A reporter is interviewing the absolute wealthiest man on Earth. He is incredibly young. She brings up a highly popular theory, claiming he can literally see the future, that he predicted his entire massive fortune. The man on screen denies it. Impossible, he says, but internally he knows that is a lie. Right in front of him, a shaman is sitting, her magic swirling in the air. He is the only one who can actually see it. For the cameras, he just plays it off as luck, just lucky investing. But then the illusion completely shatters. A bizarre dream. Kang Jin-woo wakes up to his harsh reality, wondering why he keeps having dreams about that same eagle from his military service. He is just newly discharged, completely unemployed. He lives with his mother in a cramped semi-basement apartment. Life used to be good. His father once ran a decent business and provided for them, but those days are long gone. Later, he visits his friend Tae-kyu, happily showing off his expensive action figures. The pair have been close since high school. Jin-woo tries to stay positive, noting that even without a penny, he got into a prestigious university and still plans to land a great job after graduation. He even thanks Tae-kyu for visiting his mom during last Christmas when military duties kept him away. Seeing that his friend is down, Tae-kyu decides to share some massive news to cheer him up. He recently recovered the password to a Bitcoin wallet he had lost. Jin-woo remembers that disaster. Tae-kyu cried like a baby when he lost that key, especially since he had sold his entire character in the game Rutnia to buy the crypto. The first place, Tae-kyu found the forgotten code on a random scrap of paper. Yesterday, the coin was trading at 1121. Jin-woo does some quick mental math and figures it must add up to an insane sum by now. His friend grins. The total value is a staggering 13 billion won. Tae-kyu could barely believe it himself, but he swears he is not lying. The catch is he cannot actually access any of that massive money yet. He moved it onto a trading exchange, figuring the price would just keep climbing. Jin-woo is sick with envy. Honestly, who wouldn't be, kicking himself for ignoring that game? But then a sudden realization strikes him. He and Tae-kyu used to play that game together. He reminds his friend that Tae-kyu actually convinced him to sell his own character as well, so naturally he is entitled to a cut of the money. Just then Jin-woo spots it again, the majestic eagle from his recurring dreams, only this time he is wide awake. He has absolutely no idea why it is here. The eagle flies closer and shows its real form. This mystical nature is visible only to Jin-woo. His terrified reaction completely freaks out his friend, who sees absolutely nothing. Ignoring his buddy, Jin-woo demands to know what Tae-kyu knows about Mountain Hill. Tae-kyu is baffled. That is the exact name of the crypto exchange he uses. How does Jin-woo possibly know that? Because Jin-woo just witnessed a dark vision of Mountain Hill collapsing completely. He cannot explain it, but he knows that eagle is the cause. Jin-woo starts taking this seriously. If this vision is real, his friend is about to lose everything. He urges Tae-kyu to sell all his crypto right now. It is not going to rise in value. Tae-kyu is obviously rattled, but Jin-woo insists he cannot explain yet and begs his friend to just trust him. Tae-kyu says he already had his sister open a dollar account for cashing out, so he will use that to sell, but he makes it clear that once this is over, he expects a very convincing explanation. As Tae-kyu gets to work, Jin-woo sees the eagle vanish. He takes it as a sign he did the right thing. Still, no clue what is actually going on. A moment later, his friend lets out a gasp. The Mountain Hill server just crashed. Fortunately, he managed to sell everything just in the nick of time. That is all the proof Jin-woo needs. No hallucination. The eagle was real and it was a warning. Just to be sure, Tae-kyu reports that the platform server is back online, but every single account has been wiped clean. He turns to Jin-woo and asks if he had something to do with this. Jin-woo is just as confused as his friend, but he figures the truth is his only option. He tells Tae-kyu he thinks he might have just gained the ability to see the future. A year ago, Kang Jin-woo was still in the army, running a training exercise. That is when he saw the strange eagle for the first time. It's sudden Appearance put him on edge. Weirder still, he was the only one who saw it. None of his squadmates noticed a thing, which only made Jin-woo feel more unnerved. Then came the warning: an explosion was imminent. He saw a mortar being prepped for another shot and figured that had to be it. He did not fully trust the premonition, but his survival instinct screamed at him to take cover, and because he listened, he was the only one who walked away from the blast. Back in the present, he is telling the story to his friend Tae-kyu, who just chalks it up to dumb luck, but Jin-woo insists that without the eagle's warning, he would have ended up just like the others, not in one piece. He adds that the army doctor dismissed the eagle as a false memory, a side effect of the trauma. Tae-kyu points out that this has happened twice now. That is not a coincidence. Jin-woo agrees, but he is surprised his friend is buying it so easily. Tae-kyu's explanation is simple. He has watched way too much anime to be surprised by anything. With that settled, Jin-woo moves on to more important business. He wants his cut of the fortune Tae-kyu just made. He reminds his friend that he sold his game character to fund that investment, so a share of the profits is rightfully his. Tae-kyu says he would love to, but he cannot pay him yet. The problem is taxes. Jin-woo in economics student dryly asks if he is planning on opening a tax haven. Turns out, yes. Tae-kyu explains his sister told him the income tax on his Bitcoin profits would be in the billions if he declared it, so to get around that, he set up a shell company in the United States called OTK Company, a literal tax haven. He figures it is only a matter of time before he can quit working and just live off his investments. Jin-woo knows it is not that simple, but either way, he wants his money. Tae-kyu promises to pay him what he is owed, which puts Jin-woo at ease. A little while later, he checks his bank account and sees a transfer from Tae-kyu. It is only a partial payment for now. Tae-kyu he promises to send the rest once that tax haven paperwork is finally cleared. Even so, Jin-woo leaves the bank with a smile, finally having enough cash to help his mother and spoil himself. Naturally, he heads straight for a nearby mall. Just as he walks inside, he notices a massive scene, with a woman screaming at a helpless worker for allegedly scuffing her shoes. The store manager quickly steps in to keep the peace, ordering the worker to apologize to the customer, but Jin-woo recognizes that employee. It is his mother, and he is absolutely horrified to see her getting humiliated like this. He always believed she worked a quiet office job. She never shared the truth about her job, but he steps in right before she is forced down to her knees. He demands to know what could be so terrible that a person must drop and beg for forgiveness. The furious woman causing the scene demands to know who he is to interfere, so Jin-woo tells her he is the cleaner's son, and though she tries to hide her face, he stands proud of her at all. The wealthy lady is stunned, but she is not backing down. She claims the mop touched her shoe, insisting that justifies demanding a full apology. Jin-woo cannot believe anyone would humiliate a person over something so petty. Annoyed, she snaps that her shoes cost 600,000 won, far more than a cleaner could ever afford to replace, so Jin-woo pulls out 600,000 won right there. He orders her to apologize to his mother, take the cash and get out. The lady sees the phone's recording. Trust me, she does not want to make this worse for herself. She mutters a quick apology, grabs the cash and turns, but before they walk away, Jin-woo has a brief word with the manager, explaining that since he paid for those shoes, they are now his, and the manager needs to retrieve them from the woman. If they are not delivered by tomorrow, he will file an official report for theft. With that said, he walks away, leaving the lady absolutely furious. Once they are outside, his mother looks incredibly worried, saying she must return to sort things out since she needs the income, but Jin-woo just pulls her into a hug. She has gotten way too thin. From now on, she is never working there again. He is handling all the families. Bill's proud. She smiles and says he is finally grown up. Next, they head over to a restaurant where Jin-woo explains his successful Bitcoin investments, so she no longer needs to stress about money. However, she flatly refuses to accept his earnings, wanting him to focus on his education and finish up college. Still, he insists on helping, pointing out that their very first step is relocating. He is convinced her constant coughing is caused by their damp apartment, despite her protests. Jin-woo remains absolutely determined to give her a much better life. She sighs, gently telling him he is just as stubborn as his father was. Suddenly, Jin-woo's phone rings. It is his friend Tae-kyu, screaming about a major emergency. Apparently, His older sister has returned to Korea, and he desperately needs Jin-woo's help. Later, a ridiculously flashy sports car pulls up to a five-star hotel. Inside, Jin-woo is practically dying of embarrassment over his friend's loud taste in cars. Regardless, they make their way inside and immediately bump into the stunning Oh Hyun-ju. She is surprised to see Jin-woo, admitting it has been quite some time. The group sits down together, and she tells Jin-woo that the moment he graduates, there will be an elite job waiting for him at Golden Gate. He agrees. Offer, but he can easily tell something is worrying her. She brings up the Mountain Hill bankruptcy and asks if her brother is doing okay. He reassures her, explaining he managed to sell off everything just before the disaster. Hearing that, his sister seems much more relieved. She then hands him the contact details for the Golden Gate branch manager in Gangnam. She says that for any domestic transfers he needs to make, it's best to go through this person first. Oh Hyun-ju explains she's in town for an audit and will be around for the next 10 days. Just then, her phone rings and she excuses herself to take the call. With her gone, Jin-woo asks his friend why he was so reluctant to meet his sister alone. Oh Tae-kyu admits her personality is just a little intimidating. When she returns, Oh Hyun-ju apologizes, saying the call was important. Her brother guesses it was about the oil company, and she confirms he's right. The results from the OPEC meeting, she says, are being announced tomorrow. The moment he hears that, right on cue, Jin-woo sees the spirit eagle again, ready for another prediction. The vision is clear, an agreement to cut oil production. He asks Oh Hyun-ju what the OPEC meeting is about. She tells him it's about production cut, exactly what he just saw. She explains that gold and oil are the world's true assets. Countries all over the globe want them, especially the United States, which is the biggest buyer despite not being a top producer. But the development of shale gas and oil changed the market, causing a total revolution. The problem with shale, however, is that it's pretty expensive to produce. The forecast is that more than half the companies in the business will go bankrupt. That's why these emergency meetings happen. Sometimes everything has to be decided in a hurry. Trying not to reveal what he knows, Jin-woo suggests the deal. Oh Hyun-ju is waiting for might not go as expected. When she asks why he thinks that, he just says it's a gut feeling. Oh Hyun-ju is impressed but reminds him that intuition and information are two very different things. After a while, they say their goodbyes. In the car, Jin-woo realizes that if his prediction is right, the price of an oil barrel is about to shoot through the roof. He could buy oil in advance and make a massive profit. All his predictions have been spot on so far, so he's completely sure. But there's a catch: cash. After spending, he has only $275 in his account. He has to wonder if investing everything he has is the right move. Oh Tae-kyu, meanwhile, says he noticed Jin-woo acting pretty strange while talking to his sister. He asks if he had another one of his visions. Jin-woo admits his friend's intuition is pretty good. He tells him what he learned about the OPEC agreement. Oh Tae-kyu immediately understands the plan. They need to buy oil, but he has one very practical question. Where are they supposed to store it? Later at Oh Tae-kyu's house, the two are studying the oil market. Kang Jin-woo explains that crude oil isn't just for fuel, it's a raw material used by countless industries. Oh Tae-kyu sends over the rest of the money he owed him. Jin-woo says the next step is to buy oil on the New York Stock Exchange, but since he can't be absolutely certain, he only wants to put in $300,000 for now. Oh Tae-kyu says he's in too, but he's betting $10 million. Kang Jin-woo points. He warns that this is an incredibly high-stakes gamble, but his friend has complete faith in his predictions and cannot see how they could possibly lose. Hearing that, Jin-woo tells his close friend to do exactly as he pleases. He, however, is taking a much more cautious path. If it works out, the profit will be solid, and if it fails, the financial loss will be minor. There is no reason to retreat now. He places the orders. Now all that is left is waiting for the OPEC meeting to end. Jin-woo finds them a nice villa for 120 million won. It is newly renovated and clean, leaving his mom absolutely thrilled with all the space and bright sunlight. Jin-woo remembers how past moves always meant squeezing into much smaller places, where his late dad's things always got lost along the way. But this time, his mom managed to save a box of things she could not bear to lose. Her dream had always been to own a home. His dad even bought land to build a house. On right around the time Jin-woo was born, she wishes his dad could see what their successful son has become after working so hard his entire life, but Jin-woo points out they are not done yet. They still need appliances like a washing machine and fridge. He tells his mom to take at least 3 months off work to finally rest. To that end, he hands her a bank account with 100 million won deposited inside, telling her to buy absolutely whatever she wants, but his mother is not happy. She scolds him for throwing cash around like that just because he is rich now, she insists. Her own savings are plenty, so she tells him to invest in himself instead. Jin-woo will not take no for an answer. He says if she does not want to spend it, she can just keep it safe in case he ever actually needs it later. Knows that is not going to happen. He is easily set for the next 20 years. Tae-kyu stops by with housewarming food, but get ready because here is the twist. As they eat, he drops shocking news. Mountain Hill went completely bankrupt. The hacking damage was easily in the billions, which completely wiped out the brokerage. Every single investor is broke. Tae-kyu explains that if this were a bank, the government might step in, but with crypto there is no safety net. He is sure it is no coincidence that Jin-woo saw it coming. He believes Jin-woo has some crisis-activated superpower and has even come up with a fancy name for it, Oracle's Eye. Jin-woo is highly skeptical. He says if his OPEC prediction also comes true, he will consider the theory. Otherwise, he is dropping it entirely, but Tae-kyu wants to make a deal. If the prediction is right, Jin-woo must let him use that cool name Oracle's Eye. The next day, they are at Tae-kyu's place waiting for the results. Jin-woo is an absolute nervous wreck, not at all certain his vision will actually pan out. His panic only gets worse as he watches the charts, seeing his massive losses climb, seeing his close friend on the edge of a total meltdown. Tae-kyu suggests they play a game to get their minds off things. Jin-woo tries, but he simply cannot focus at all. Numbers are just constantly rattling inside his head, causing him to make a really stupid move that gets him a solid scolding, and then, with all the stress piling up, Kang Jin-woo just suddenly passes out. He is woken up a short time later by Tae-kyu. The results are in. A terrified Jin-woo looks at the screen and realizes his prediction came true after all. He tells his incredibly excited friend to check the account immediately. They made 800 million won, but for Tae-kyu, the money is secondary. For Tae-kyu, the ultimate win is knowing he was right all along. His friend actually has a superpower, and now he can call Kang Jin-woo Oracle's Eye whenever he wants, but his gifted buddy is totally unimpressed by this development. After all, compared to flying or super strength, his skill feels useless. Then again, he reasons that technology can replace physical abilities anyway, but predicting the future, no advanced computer can do that. Tae-kyu immediately starts listing the endless possibilities: elections, sports, natural disasters, and more. He calls it an emergency awakening. But Jin-woo points out a massive flaw: it is not on demand. If it were, he would have cleaned out every casino around by now. Tae-kyu suggests a new theory: maybe it only activates for financial matters, since it happened during their Bitcoin talk. Jin-woo counters that his first real vision was the mortar explosion. Tae-kyu claims that was just a life-or-death exception, but then he remembers the news. That incident was part of a huge military corruption scandal. The faulty mortar made the manufacturer's stock tank completely, and their defense contracts vanish, so even that was tied directly to finance. Jin-woo admits he has a point, but argues that almost everything in this world is connected to finance anyway. That gives Tae-kyu an idea. Talk about a leap of faith. He offers to invest his capital if Jin-woo uses his power to guide the investments. It is a tempting offer, but Kang Jin-woo is worried about being blamed for any potential losses. Tae-kyu says he understands the risks and is willing to take the gamble. Still, the protagonist is not convinced. There is no proof his sight is 100% accurate. It could be a fluke. He figures it is more likely based on high probability, with a constant margin for error. Without that absolute certainty, it is pointless. Winning big today just to lose it all tomorrow is not a plan, but Tae-kyu will not drop it, telling his friend to trust the process and trust himself. Jin-woo remains reluctant. Luckily, their intense debate is cut short by a sudden phone call. An old buddy he has not seen since enlisting invites him out for drinks. Jin-woo says he is busy but promises to get back to him a little while later. He shows up at the bar, meeting his old crew with just one request: absolutely no talk about the military. Freshmen Wang Jihee and Shin Yuri are there too, but since Jihang is late, they start drinking without Someone asks if Jin-woo plans on heading back to college, and he admits he is. Considering it, they keep drinking while waiting for their senior to show. Finally, Jeong Ji-hung walks in. He is thrilled to see Kang Jin-woo out of the military, and the old friends catch up. Ji-hung currently works in the financial sector and mentions things are shaky with constant job restructuring. Jin-woo asks if he is worried about his job at the central bank. Ji-hung admits it is tough even for veterans, eyeing a move to private capital. He explains that Korea has plenty of brilliant founders but lacks major domestic investors, leaving the country needing someone who can actively compete with massive foreign capital. During their chat, Shin Yuri takes a call. She explains she was supposed to meet her close friend Siona, but since she ended up drinking here, she just invited her to tag along. The name. This makes Jin-woo freeze. The other guys immediately scold the clueless freshman. He has no idea why everyone is upset. Then, right on cue, Siona walks in. She stops short when she sees Jin-woo. It turns out they used to date. This is the very first time they have faced each other since their split. Sometime later, Jin-woo runs into his ex-girlfriend Siona at a coffee shop. He is surprised. It has been 2 years since their last awkward encounter. He cuts right to the chase, asking if she is still with that senior. That guy is Ko Jun-young, the third son of GH Constructions. Jin-woo had heard rumors during his service that Siona was dating him. She confirms it, but she does not look very happy about it. Jin-woo notes how much she has changed from the quiet girl he knew. She apologizes for breaking things off, but Jin-woo says it is in the past. Too much has happened. That is when Siona confesses her lingering feelings. She explains she always trusted him. She admits leaving him was selfish. But she did it for her future, to finally achieve her biggest dreams. She wanted to be successful, and with that, she quietly walks away. Watching her go sends Jin-woo into a deep spiral of old memories. He remembers losing his dad and being too broke to afford his funeral. Having Siona dump him in the middle of all that loss was a brutal blow. Left with no other options, he enlisted, leaving his mother with the burden. But now, thanks to Tae-hyuk, he has recovered billions of won. His own investments have brought huge profits, yet something still bothers him. He has 13 billion won, but get this, none of it feels real. What does success even mean? As he sits lost in thought, the spirit eagle appears again, but this time, the majestic creature feels far more intense. Out of nowhere, Jin-woo is slammed by another powerful and sudden vision. He instantly understands that everything he saw is destined to happen. Later, Jin-woo visits Tae-hyuk at home. He wakes his friend up, declaring that together they are going to achieve true success. The next morning, Jin-woo wakes up with a huge hangover. Tae-hyuk explains his friend showed up completely wasted and passed out. Jin-woo only recalls blurry fragments of the eagle and making a solemn vow. He points out that Tae-hyuk has never actually done any real trading. The guy simply got incredibly lucky timing the crypto boom perfectly. Jin-woo, however, has actually made some small but real investments himself. He confesses he only put in 1 million won and lost half, stopping there. Tae-hyuk agrees his financial knowledge is limited to a single year of college. But he also knows they are sitting on a truly massive fortune. Jin-woo explains the incredible advantage of their massive scale. To make 100 million from 10 million, you need a 1,000% return. But with 10 billion, you only need a simple 1% return. That is the power of capital. Tae-hyuk thinks it sounds incredibly fun. But Jin-woo disagrees. For him, investing requires his actual supernatural powers. And he has absolutely no idea when the eagle will give him another vision. He must solve this problem before they can continue their next move. He spends his days reading finance articles and tracking big stocks. He gets a better feel for the market, but his cheat code eagle remains completely silent. Maybe it only triggers for massive events like the OPEC deal. Meanwhile, Tae-kyu ever. The optimist suggests they draft a contract. He actually picked up some business tips from his sister and proposes a 50-50 profit split. Jin-ho is completely fine with that. Right in the middle of their chat, his phone rings. It is Shin Yuri, the pretty freshman from their recent group date. Shyly, she drops a total surprise. She asks Jin-ho if he wants to grab coffee sometime. The very next day, Jin-ho goes to meet up with her. She thanks him for actually coming. And he secretly notes that she looks just like a famous pop idol. He tries playing it cool, claiming he was just in the area, visiting a friend anyway. Then he asks why she wanted to meet. Shin Yurai admits she wanted to apologize. She feels terrible about Seona crashing their party and ruining the vibe. She also mentions she is glad he is returning to college soon, since they will get to hang out much more. Jin-ho is caught off guard. It is not every day a gorgeous girl acts this bold with him, but then she asks for a favor. She needs a new phone but is totally clueless about tech. And so she wants his help. So much for romance, he is just free tech support. Either way, they head straight to a nearby electronics store. While Shin Yurai browses the displays, Jin-ho decides he might need an upgrade too. But the moment his hand touches a display phone, the golden eagle suddenly manifests. The majestic spirit delivers a very short, chilling warning. This specific model will be discontinued soon. Jin-ho has no idea what this actually means. When Shin Yurai asks what is wrong, he quickly plays it cool. On the inside, though, he feels a wave of relief. His supernatural powers are still active. Shortly after, Shin Yurai finishes her purchase. But Jin-ho cannot resist dropping a hint that her brand new device is doomed. When she asks how on earth he knows that, he instantly panics. He backpedals, claiming it was a dumb joke, and runs off citing an urgent appointment. Shin Yurai is left standing there disappointed, since she wanted to grab lunch together. Meanwhile, Jin-ho is sprinting straight to his best friend's place. He remembers Tae-kyu just bought that exact same phone and needs to warn him. Once there, Tae-kyu breaks down the current state of the tech market. Samsung dominates with various models, but Apple still rules the premium sector. To fight back, Samsung launched their highly anticipated flagship phone, the L6, and it is currently a massive hit in Korea. This only deepens Jin-ho's confusion. Why cancel their absolute best-selling product? Tae-kyu assumes a major patent dispute is brewing, since tech giants clash constantly. But Jin-ho points out that companies usually just pay fines in court battles. They do not just pull their flagship devices. The two of them stay up all night trying to solve the puzzle, and then morning brings the answer. Tae-kyu shakes Jin-ho awake, screaming at the top of his lungs. His brand new smartphone just exploded while charging. He only owned the device for barely 1 week, and it is a complete hazard. Right then, they both realize they finally uncovered the exact reason behind the eagle's warning. A quick search online reveals they are not alone. Plenty of others face the same issue. Tae-kyu realizes Samsung is covering this up, paying people off to stay quiet. He also figures this device defect is incredibly common. With the phone selling so well, reported cases are bound to explode. Jin-woo is absolutely certain a massive recall is coming. The only real question is timing and how to maximize their investment when it happens. The very next day, a Samsung service technician visits Tae-kyu to check out his reported issue. The tech even offers him a fat payout if he promises not to post about it online. This instantly confirms all of Tae-kyu's deep suspicions about a corporate cover-up. At this rate, the faulty phone line will be permanently discontinued very soon. Jin-woo calculates that discontinuing the phone will slash their operating profits. That means 40% of their profit is gone. Time to sell, not buy. One big problem remains: they do not own any shares to sell, but Tae-kyu has a plan. He pitches short selling. You borrow shares, sell high, and wait for the crash. Once the price crashes, you buy them back and pocket the massive difference as profit. Jin-woo thinks it over. Even with a massive recall, the stock will likely only drop slightly. A 30% drop at most. With 13 billion, the return would not be that crazy. But that is not enough for Jin-woo. To pull off the ultimate gamble, he needs a professional. He needs a derivatives expert. Tae-kyu suggests recruiting his sister, since she is a master at this, but Jin-woo knows Hyun-ju would never approve. She would definitely not be happy about their reckless scheme. Instead, Jin-woo proposes someone else. He suggests Park Sang-yup, the actual president of the University Investment Club. No matter what rumors exist about the guy, he is undeniably a pure genius. Park Sang-yup grew up in Australia, yet his brilliant mind got him into a top Korean university. He studied mathematics there and quickly began tracking a tiny startup company. He monitored QMK Tech, realizing their market predictions were incredibly accurate. Without hesitating, he emptied his entire bank account, even his rent money, to buy their stock. That bold move left him broke, forcing him to couch surf for 2 weeks. Then the stock absolutely exploded, making Park Sang-yup a self-made millionaire within 2 months. He made one correct call after another, eventually launching his own investment fund. That successful group is actually how Jin-woo first met him years ago. Back in the present, Jin-woo and Tae-kyu sit down with Park Sang-yup. Park Sang-yup casually mentions he recently lost a fortune and is now drowning in debt. He has to work odd jobs just to cover basic bills, leaving Jin-woo completely stunned. Most people would be panicking, but Park Sang-yup discusses his massive debt with eerie calmness. Getting straight to the business, Jin-woo says he wants to learn the secrets of stock trading. He wants to know the exact difference between futures and complex derivatives. Park Sang-yup explains that futures are straightforward contracts binding two parties together. Both parties agree to trade a specific asset at a set price on a set date. Win or lose, they are locked in. Derivatives, however, offer far more flexible options. These options have an expiration date, creating a clear buyer and a seller dynamic. The buyer holds the ultimate right to choose, while the seller seems disadvantaged. They actually dominate. Sellers maintain a much higher win rate, so they always set their terms extremely carefully. He gives an example of a high-risk put option with a very low chance of succeeding. If a bold buyer invested 1 billion won, the potential payout could be absolutely astronomical. 9 trillion won, but Park Sang-yup warns that almost never actually happens because bad news is way more common than good. When a disaster does strike, the price of put options can shoot up hundreds of times, and sellers are legally obligated to pay out. That is all Jin-woo needs to hear to lay out his plan. He's going to short Samsung stock, telling Sang-yup that their newest phone is about to be discontinued because of a massive manufacturing flaw. Sang-yup asks if there is any proof. Jin-woo cannot reveal his powers and offers no real evidence, so Sang-yup warns him not to play around. A gamble like that could completely bankrupt him. Jin-woo thanks him and they part ways. He now has all the key pieces needed to put his plan into action. At his friend Tae-kyu's place, Jin-woo lays it out, 70% in put options, the rest in short selling. He explains that while those explosion reports seem like isolated incidents, he has noticed a disturbing pattern, but for now the market is completely ignoring the issue. Most investors remain entirely calm. After all, there is no official news to spook them yet, so Jin-woo starts calculating the exact possibilities. If the stock rises more than expected, he will take a massive loss, but if those hardware defects are confirmed, everything changes. After running the numbers, he decides to buy the put options. His entire massive bet hinges on the stock price crashing. Despite the uncertainty, Jin-woo commits a massive chunk of their capital. Now, all they can do is wait. Days drag on slowly. At first, absolutely nothing goes according to plan. The stock just keeps climbing higher. Their new phones hit the international market, and the global reception is fantastic. Jin-woo's nerves really start to fray. He can feel the clock ticking. If his gamble fails, they will lose absolutely everything. The stress is causing him serious anxiety. The massive weight of responsibility is starting to crush him. Even Tae-kyu, who tries to stay positive, cannot hide his growing dread. Then suddenly, it finally happens. A major news story starts to break. Reports of exploding phones are back, and this time it is not just a few cases. It is a flood. The company quickly makes an official announcement blaming faulty batteries, but the incidents keep happening. The entire situation is rapidly spinning completely out of control. Finally, they are forced into an extreme measure, a massive worldwide recall. The two friends are completely stunned watching the news. Millions of devices are being collected. Samsung is losing a fortune on each returned phone, but their plan is to fix the batteries and resell those refurbished units. After the recall announcement, the stock, which was dipping, actually recovers, closing down only 1.5%. To calm the nervous market, the company announces a brand new shareholder return policy, including quarterly dividends. It is a crisis management move that completely undermines Jin-woo's strategy, but Tae-kyu is not worried, still sure Jin-woo's prediction will still come true, but Jin-woo himself is starting to doubt his own ability, wondering if his luck has finally run dry, worried sick about the potential losses. Jin-woo cannot sleep, just tossing and turning all night. Tae-kyu eventually wakes up from the noise and suggests they grab a beer to clear their heads. While they drink, Jin-woo figures he only got one thing right: the Samsung. The device is about to be discontinued. He asks Tae-kyu if he blames him. Tae-kyu says no, he was the one who pushed to get into investing. Besides, he still believes his friend's wild prediction is going to pan out. It is only a matter of time. but Jin-woo cannot share his optimism. A week passes after the recall announcement. Samsung stores are completely packed. People are returning defective devices, while others buy brand new ones. Their stock numbers start climbing rapidly. As they do, Jin-woo's losses expand. His short sales cushion the blow slightly, but it is not enough. Tae-kyu has lost nearly everything he made from his Bitcoin trading. Jin-woo knows that even with his small emergency stash, this is getting ugly. He regrets not listening to Park Sang-yeop, but Tae-kyu has zero regrets. He has been broke before and can easily handle it all over again. Meanwhile, far away, a commercial plane runs into terrifying trouble. A phone exploded mid-flight, endangering everyone on board. It was a replacement unit. Issued right after the recall. This proves the actual problem was never the battery, despite their claims. Back with our guys, Jin-woo wakes up with a start from a bizarre dream. It was about the eagle. He warns his friend that in 4 days, something huge is coming. Something absolutely massive is going to hit Samsung's stock price. Even after waking from that terrifying nightmare, Jin-woo is still completely on edge. The vision felt too real to ignore, so he and Tae-kyu start investigating. They look into the Samsung case again. Right away, things do not add up. The company blamed defective batteries, but certain details still bother him. New reports of device explosions are still popping up everywhere. Even after they completed the battery replacement, then the airplane incident hits. It makes major headlines, and soon airlines ban the device on all flights. With their stock price in free fall, Samsung executives call an emergency meeting. The vice president takes charge, admitting to the room they still have no answers. They do not know the real cause, leaving other directors to debate. Some argue for simply continuing the recall, but others insist that is not enough. That is when the vice president brings up a highly risky, crazy idea. He explains an ancient philosophical thought experiment, the ship of Theseus. If you replace every single board on a wooden ship, is it still the same ship? The core idea is that despite constant changes, the true essence always remains. The comparison leaves most of the room confused, so he has to spell it out. Despite all the changes made over the years, the company is still defined by its core. But if they lose public trust completely, no amount of restructuring will save them. Lost cash can be recovered, but a destroyed reputation is another story. Right then, the board makes an incredibly extreme and final decision. The company will completely halt all sales and exchanges of the L6 phone. A spokesperson delivers the news to the media. Jin-woo can barely believe it. His wild prediction actually came true. The device is officially dead. The fallout for the massive manufacturer is absolutely catastrophic. Estimates put their losses at 50 trillion won, worse than any recent financial crisis. Before this, they had been quietly accumulating. Samsung put options through Golden. Stock market chaos. The crash is so severe that even the massive Golden Gate takes a beating, but an analyst spots something weird. A secret buyer bought Samsung shares right before the accident. No short selling either. An outraged major shareholder orders his team to find them immediately, convinced it is a massive inside job. Meanwhile, Jin-woo and his buddy are just trying to process the madness. Silence, complete shock. Then, the reality of the situation hits them. They are about to make an insane amount of money. Their prediction actually came true. The profit margin is way larger than they expected, and the two celebrate like they just won the biggest lottery on Earth. Sometime later, Tae-kyu finishes crunching the math. Their total profit is 685 billion. Jin-woo remarks they almost hit $1 trillion. Keeping his promise, Tae-kyu says half of that belongs to Jin-woo. The offer feels totally surreal. Just weeks ago, Jin-woo was an unemployed former soldier with nothing. Now he is so rich, he has no clue how to spend it. He feels kind of guilty, especially since his powers almost ruined them. But Tae-kyu refuses to hear it. Jin-woo's prediction made them rich. So a 50-50 split is only fair. Jin-woo is quietly moved by this. He has a real friend here, someone who would never try to cheat him. Still thinking about how his foresight almost failed him, he decides. He must be extremely cautious now. Nobody knows what is coming next, so his best move is keeping his powers a secret. Tae-kyu is the only person he trusts besides his mother. While Tae-kyu celebrates, Jin-woo feels a heavy pang of guilt for profiting from a national disaster, but Tae-kyu argues that they did not cause the recall. Jin-woo knows that. But Samsung stock just completely collapsed while foreign rivals got a massive boost. His friend tells him to stop worrying and just enjoy their massive victory. Besides, they have a practical problem. If Tae-kyu transfers Jin-woo's share legally, the taxes will be astronomical, and paying in cash is impossible. There is nowhere to even store it all. Jin-woo admits this is a problem he never imagined having. Tae-kyu wants to reinvest for even more. But Jin-woo warns that as your capital grows, making money becomes much harder. Jin-woo figures he already has enough to live comfortably for the rest of his life without a single worry, but is it right to walk away? He has already had another vision, one he has not shared with his friend. Jin-woo tells Tae-kyu he is seeing this to the end, but understands. If Tae-kyu wants to back out now, his friend immediately refuses to quit. He is locked in, then Tae-kyu lays out his genius plan for the cash. He has already set up a company named OTK in Delaware. That state offers massive tax exemptions, bypassing the Korean government entirely. Tae-kyu then asks to see the contract he originally gave to Jin-woo. He takes the document and rips it into tiny pieces, saying, a 50-50 split does not make sense anymore. Instead, he suggests 80-20. Jin-woo is totally stunned by the sudden greed, feeling completely cornered. But to his shock, Tae-kyu clarifies that he only wants 20%. This 80% is actually for Jin-woo, leaving him totally confused by the sudden proposal. Tae-kyu explains that their situation is different now. Before, he supplied all the cash. But now Jin-woo actually has his own massive capital to throw into the mix. Because of that, a 50-50 split would be pretty unfair to him. Tae-kyu believes the ultimate investment right now is not in some random company. It is in Jin-woo himself, arguing that any short-term sacrifice is absolutely nothing compared to the massive things they will achieve down the road. Besides, he is already set for a comfortable life. Tae-kyu is totally confident about going all in. He completely trusts his friend, plus, with an 80% share of the business, Jin-woo should run the whole administration, since he has been studying up on it. He is the perfect fit, and just like that, Kang Jin-woo becomes the official CEO of OTK company. He instantly feels guilty for ever doubting his buddy, realizing he was entirely right to trust him. With the end of the year fast approaching, Tae-kyu asks what Jin-woo did for Christmas last year. Turns out Jin-woo was stuck shoveling endless snow in the army. He then flips the question right back. Tae-kyu spent it with his mom, wanting to make sure she was not lonely. Shifting gears, Jin-woo asks Tae-kyu to wire a clean 800 million won straight to his Korean bank account to handle his taxes properly. Tae-kyu finds the account details from his sister and asks what this cash is actually for. Jin-woo says he is getting his mom a very special Christmas gift. He strolls into a real estate office, where the agent instantly writes him off as some college student searching for a cheap rental, but Jin-woo clarifies he is not renting, he is buying. Naturally, the agent is totally shocked and warns him that properties here easily go for $1 billion. Jin-woo simply points out the window, asking about the house directly across the street. She says a place like that costs around 600 million won. Jin-woo calmly says he will take it. Realizing this kid is dead serious, she offers to find some similar listings. But Jin-woo is firm. He does not want similar, he wants that exact one. The agent has to break the news that the house is not for sale. Jin-woo asks if the owner might reconsider for a price way above market value. He then pulls out a bag of cash, offering to throw in an extra 200 million won. Will that seal the deal? The house belongs to a woman named Kim Ma-ya. Owning it was once her ultimate dream, but things quickly soured. The 20-year-old building required constant, expensive repairs, and the property value had completely crashed. She was totally stuck, but then she gets a sudden call from the agent. A wealthy young buyer is offering way above market value. The staggering offer gives Kim Ma-ya a near heart attack, but instead of instant relief, she feels incredibly suspicious. She assumes that if someone is paying this much, the house is worth way more. So she greedily tells the agent she needs to think. Her husband desperately begs her to accept the offer immediately, but Kim Ma-ya has a different plan. She calls the agent back and tries to squeeze even more money out of them, demanding a flat 1 billion won, but the agent tells her the client already walked away to find a cheaper spot. Instantly panicked, Kim Ma-ya begs the agent to bring him back, terrified of losing this absolute lifetime jackpot. A few days later, the agent calls. She managed to convince the buyer to return. She asks if Kim Mi-ya will accept a down payment before he changes his mind. Kim Mi-ya quickly agrees. The agent then asks if she can vacate the property soon. She wants her out by Christmas, but the woman protests she has nowhere to go. It is too short notice, so the agent mentions an extra 20 million bonus. If she leaves by December 25th, she gets the cash. Kim Mi-ya instantly agrees. She can be out in 24 hours. Back with Jin-woo, he is satisfied. The deal is done. This was his childhood home, back when his father was alive. He totally overpaid, but waiting was not an option. He wanted to surprise his mom. It is the ultimate Christmas gift. The agent congratulates him on the purchase. Curiously, she asks why he was so obsessed with this specific old property. Jin-woo gives a vague answer, and she wisely decides to drop the subject. Walking through the busy streets later, he watches everyone shopping for gifts. He pulls out his phone, staring at an old picture of his complete family. This memory was his true motivation, a secret he keeps to himself. He calls his mom, letting her know he is finally heading back home. A bit later, Jin-woo tells his mom they are heading out for dinner. Tae-kyu is already waiting outside as chauffeur. His mom is immediately curious. He keeps the destination a secret, but on the way, his phone rings. It is the freshman, Shin Yuri, and she gets straight to the point. She wants to know how he predicted her phone model was getting discontinued. He tries to laugh it off, but she confirms his prediction was completely right. Jin-woo cuts her off, promising to talk later, but then another message arrives. Park Seo-young texts him with the exact same question. The phone tip is leaking. Talk about an awkward glitch, but he has to focus on his family right now. The car finally pulls up outside the house. His mother is instantly overwhelmed with emotion. She whispers they should not stay, but Jin-woo insists they go inside. She hesitates, feeling wrong about entering a house that does not belong to them. The rooms are completely empty, but she is immediately flooded with old memories. Every corner brings back happy times, but it hurts knowing they cannot stay. Get ready for some happy tears, because Jin-woo finally drops the big reveal. He hands over the legal deed. He actually bought their childhood home back. Stunned, she tearfully asks how this is possible. He smiles and explains everything. He made a fortune investing with a friend and wanted to do this for her. She breaks down in happy tears, thanking him for being such a wonderful son. He comforts her, saying there is no crying allowed today. Then he spots Tae-kyu. The driver is also crying. Jin-woo tells him to stop ruining the emotional moment. Later, he repeats his cover story about making some cash, but keeps it brief. He also drops a bombshell. He is taking a break from college for investments. His mom hates the idea, warning him not to throw his future away on luck. Still, she is glad he has a reliable friend like Tae-kyu watching his back. Tae-kyu proudly salutes, promising to handle any trouble that comes their way. Looking around, his mom mentions the house needs quite a bit of work. That is probably why the previous owner sold it so quickly. Jin-woo smiles. He will fund the renovations, and they can move back in very soon. Tae-kyu quickly reminds everyone about their dinner reservation, and they finally head out. To celebrate, with his father gone, Jin-woo realizes the heavy duty of supporting his mother lies entirely on his shoulders. He promises to make his dad proud. Hoping his father can finally rest in peace, soon after, Jin-woo helps Tae-kyu move. They both decided that expanding their business required a proper base of operations. So Tae-kyu bought a massive house, clearly refusing to cut any corners. He insists the grand purchase was a completely necessary business expense. He claims the entire first floor for work, leaving the second floor for Jin-woo. Once they unpack, Tae-kyu is immediately ready to go on a shopping spree. Jin-woo asks if he has not spent enough, but Tae-kyu just laughs it off. To him, it is about testing the absolute limits of his buying power. Jin-woo strongly suspects this is just an excuse to hoard anime collectibles. Sure enough, they soon arrive at a giant department store. An eager salesman greets them, but Tae-kyu immediately spots a massive television. He hears it is a brand new Samsung model and instantly wants it. The only catch is that the display model is not actually for sale. But Tae-kyu does not care. He insists, then starts pointing at other electronics. He casually grabs an entire mountain of top-tier luxury appliances. The poor salesman is completely flabbergasted by all of this. He asks if they want installments, but Tae-kyu confidently pulls out cash. He explains he is just returning a favor to Samsung for their recent success. so he is buying the best product from every single category. Jin-woo gently points out that his buddy might have gone way too far. But Tae-kyu insists he is just showing the tech giant some love. Once back, Tae-kyu starts remodeling the entire house into a luxury haven. He creates luxurious lounge spaces and even remodels all their bedrooms. Next, he reveals a stunning workspace meant for closing their massive deals. Then comes the real business, as he pulls out their corporate registration. Staring at the signed contract, the reality of it all finally hits Jin-woo. He and Tae-kyu are now officially business partners, ready to make moves. During their first meeting, Jin-woo admits his unique prediction power is real. But there are some massive loopholes. He cannot summon the eagle at will. That means he cannot just peer into the future whenever he feels like it. To make things worse, the visions he actually gets are highly vague and limited. If he sees a plot of land spiking in value, he cannot tell the timeline. It could happen next week or in 10 years, plus their actions might butterfly. Actively shifting the future could easily make things significantly worse. Tae-kyu agrees. While natural disasters are predictable, human choices are a wild variable. He points out that their massive Samsung investment could have failed. If the corporation made different moves, they could have lost everything. Or they might have waited ages just to get their money back. Going back to the land example, if their plot became too valuable, the entire development project could easily be canceled or relocated. So Tae-kyu concludes that they just have to stay sharp and adapt. Jin-woo agrees, noting that this power really feels like an unpredictable sixth sense. But the energy is still flowing through him. Tae-kyu figures they just have to wait for the eagle's next vision. Jin-woo thinks that the absolute ideal situation would be predicting another massive crisis on demand. But then he realizes an event like that would completely wreck the economy, leaving side effects that could linger for years. As he is thinking, a sudden news report catches his eye and he calls Tae-kyu right over. The report says Samsung is investigating who bought up all the put options right before the L6 was discontinued. The company suspects a foreign entity knew what was coming, or worse, that they caused the defects in the first place. The two of them realize they are directly in Samsung's crosshairs. They sit down to talk. Jin-woo warns they have been treating this like a game and they can't afford to raise any more suspicion. Tae-kyu argues they never imagined it'd blow up like this, and they didn't do anything illegal, but Jin-woo points out it's all about perception. You see, you are a genius when everyone makes money, but a total villain when you profit from others' painful losses. Tae-kyu still insists it was not illegal. Even so, Jin-woo says no one wins the lottery twice without raising eyebrows. He has to think very carefully about their next move. Short-term plays are risky and draw too much unwanted attention. Long-term investments have a better chance of success, but timing and returns are uncertain. The Korean and global markets have been hit by crises before, but they have learned from mistakes and evolved. So, unless another massive financial shock hits, the smart play is building long-term investments. To do that, Jin-woo wants to transform their company OTK into a massive holding company and start acquiring stakes in other businesses. Jin-woo suggests a new strategy: buy into companies with high growth potential, then take control of the ones that perform best. The goal is doubling their $670 million in just 3 years. Tae-kyu likes the sound of it, thinking the task does not seem too difficult. Jin-woo plans to analyze companies online and just wait for his eagle to appear, but after hours of staring at a screen with zero results, he starts to think the whole thing was a massive waste of time. His friend shows up with a stack of papers, figuring it's less tiring to read printouts than to burn your eyes out on a monitor. The next morning, Tae-kyu wakes up to find Jin-woo surrounded by those same documents, having pulled a grueling all-nighter. But Jin-woo reports that his eagle never showed. Worse, he has realized they are on the completely wrong path. The overall plan is fine, he explains, but their method is deeply flawed. The way they are buying stakes is not getting results they need. For huge billion-dollar companies, profit is just a matter of time. But for smaller companies, the stock price is a total crapshoot. It either skyrockets or plummets. Jin-woo concludes that as their fund grows, it is only going to get harder to manage. Tae-kyu suggests investing in foreign markets, maybe even big tech companies. Jin-woo agrees it is a good idea, but points out they need reliable contacts or they will have to hire an expert. No Matter which business model they choose, they need a solid team and reliable information. Just then, Tae-kyu's phone rings. On the other end, his sister is. She is furious. Why is his house empty? Tae-kyu calmly explains the move, giving her his new address. Jin-woo remarks that the timing is perfect. He wanted to speak with her anyway. But Tae-kyu warns him that his sister is absolutely livid, so be prepared. Shortly after, Oh Hyun-ju arrives. She's still visibly angry as she looks around, demanding to know who owns the place. Tae-kyu claims it is his, and he is living here now. That sets her off. She wants to know where his billions went. Tae-kyu asks if that is the real reason she came back. Oh Hyun-ju explains that the recent Samsung shock shook up the entire market, but rumors are flying about a mystery entity that bought millions of put options right before the big news broke. Turns out this mysterious entity has an account right where she works. At Golden Gate, the trade was huge, boosting their Asian branch's balance sheet massively. She already knew that shady shell companies use random letter structures, so she had a hunch OTK was behind it. Then, a senior colleague connected the dots, mentioning a huge transfer of over 10 billion won to a foreign account, since Oh Hyun-ju was the one who opened this account. For her brother, she had the legal clearance to check his transaction history. To her absolute horror, he spent every cent on Samsung put options. She demands answers. Hearing this, Jin-woo immediately realizes she knows absolutely everything. Tae-kyu, however, just calmly admits he bought them, asking what he did wrong. Oh Hyun-ju tells him that because of his massive trades, the regulators are now demanding transaction documents directly from her branch at Golden Gate. They want all transaction records and owner details. She warns they are only safe because the firm lacks those specifics, only knowing where it was registered. But that refusal to cooperate only works against domestic regulators. Sooner or later, the whole truth is coming out. She lays it bare. OTK is currently suspected of using insider information or even being to those phone accidents. For publicly traded companies, any market-moving info must be shared with everyone equally, not just a selected few. Trading on secrets is highly illegal. If those massive profits are ruled illicit, the government will seize everything and throw them both in jail. She points out that without solid evidence, they can avoid being charged. But she still demands to know how they pulled it off. Jin-woo admits he leaked the information, which instantly raises a major question. How did he actually know? His hesitation only makes Oh Hyun-ju angrier. She warns them, tell the truth or else. They are both going straight to prison, and she gets dragged down with them. So Jin-woo gives her the official cover story, the moment news broke about of the exploding L6 phones. He did a deep analysis and concluded it was a defect serious enough to discontinue the model completely. Tae-kyu trusted his analysis completely and decided to bet. They bought put options based on his analysis, with zero outside help. Oh Hyun-ju is no fool, knowing they are keeping secrets. But for now, she decides to go along with their version of the story. She brings up an old financial scandal, the Sweet Bank case, to make her point. Back then, a group manipulated stock prices to profit from a massive crash. They made 50 billion won, but these two guys made 10 times that from one tiny room. It is completely insane. She explains that the Sweet Bank scandal changed the laws. Rules changed fast, but what they did to Samsung was unprecedented. Even with hedges, a massive firm like Golden Gate lost a whopping $20 million. That happened because two rookie investors used a faulty product to make billions. If their company OTK were based in Korea, she warns they would all be in court. But because the company is registered overseas, they managed to escape any legal trouble. Now they are completely clear. Still, she cannot believe they caused this mess with 13 billion. She asks about their next move with all this new cash. Tae-kyu explains. He shares the breakdown. Jin-woo gets 80% and Tae-kyu takes 20%. Hearing this, his sister is absolutely floored. Why would he let Jin-woo have the majority stake? His reason, Jin-woo brought the key info. Tae-kyu only provided the initial cash. Still, Oh Hyun-ju calls this entire setup completely ridiculous. In high finance, the person who provides the funding always takes the biggest cut. She bluntly tells her brother that he basically just handed the whole company over to Jin-woo. But Tae-kyu knows exactly what he is doing. He wants Jin-woo to lead the company. They need to stick together. However, his sister is not convinced at all. She dismisses their recent win as a lucky break and asks if they plan to continue. He has a plan, but he needs her skills. To sweeten the deal, he offers her 3% of his own shares as an incentive. That tiny cut is worth 20 billion won. Jin-woo chimes in, saying he understands her hesitation. He promises he is not reckless, pointing out that she has nothing to lose. She would not even have to quit her current job to help their new venture succeed. Insider info would be easy to share, she just reacts. She sends Jin-woo out to buy her a coffee. As he walks away, Jin-woo thinks about her. Oh Hyun-ju has been an absolute genius her entire life, dominating the top economics programs. She scored perfectly and landed a highly coveted role at an exclusive global investment bank. A total success story, her brother though. He spent half his life slacking off before accidentally becoming a self-made billionaire. Jin-woo completely understands why taking a job offer from her slacker brother is hard to swallow. When Jin-woo returns, Tae-kyu delivers some amazing news. His highly accomplished sister is officially in. Immediately after, Oh Hyun-ju sends her brother out of the room to buy her cigarettes. She clearly wants to speak to Jin-woo alone. Jin-woo thanks her for agreeing to join them. But she remains strictly practical. The massive financial offer was simply too tempting to turn down. They would have just hired someone else. Besides, this is rare. It is the first time her brother has ever been serious about something besides his otaku hobbies. She still believes their trading style is incredibly reckless, but she cannot argue with results. Pulling off that kind of move takes serious guts. She expects this from her brother, but Jin-woo surprised her. Jin-woo explains that since he grew up with absolutely nothing, he was willing to risk it all. He had to bet big for a shot at a massive score. Legendary investors always have to take a giant leap. That fateful play was his big shot, but Oh Hyun-ju quickly reminds him about high finance. The financial world has plenty of experts, but also plenty of scammers. After 10 years in this business, even Hyun-ju does not know everything. Jin-woo understands her. She is worried. Younger brother, he promises her, no matter what, he will protect him. Tae-kyu will stay safe. Hearing this, she relaxes. She tells him. She is counting on him. Look after her brother and the company. Then, like that OTK company officially gets its 3 partners. Jin-woo holds 80%, Tae-kyu has 17%, and Oh Hyun-ju is on board with 3%. Sometime later, Jin-woo lays out his next move. He will open a separate investment firm, leaving OTK to function as a holding company. Oh Hyun-ju thinks it is a solid plan, but wonders how Jin-woo will manage everything alone. She assures him, no rush, she will help. First on the list is finding someone qualified to run the new company, someone who can act as his right hand, so he asks for her help finding the right candidate. She returns with high-quality internal intel. It is from Golden Gate, and since OTK is a major client, they can legally request it. Oh Hyun-ju has basically handed him a direct menu of the market's biggest upcoming trends for him to easily choose from. Just then, Jin-woo. Right then, Jin-woo gets a dinner invite from Park Sang-yup. When they meet, Jin-woo immediately clocks his brand new suit. He is clearly dressed up for a special occasion. Sang-yup announces dinner is on him, prompting Jin-woo to ask if he finally paid off his debts. Yes, completely, and yet he has Jin-woo to thank. That tip about Samsung saved him. Jin-woo asks if he also bought put options on Samsung Electronics. Sang-yup says no, never. He never believed the L6 would be discontinued. Instead, he reasoned the real issue was the battery. That meant manufacturers would take the hit, so he took his remaining 700,000 won and bought put options on Samsung's insurer. The result, pure jackpot. 150 million won. Jin-woo is utterly floored. Even with his future knowledge, he wasn't completely sure how things would play out, but he realizes Park Sang-yup is a natural-born investor. He saw an opportunity, didn't hesitate, and risked everything he had to become a millionaire. Sang-yup explains that after clearing his debts, the first thing he did was buy this suit. He also knows Jin-woo and his partner made an absolute killing. A friend working in the finance sector heard a foreign corporation swept up those call options. After their talk, Sang-yup knew exactly who did it. He adds, his friend suspected the company buying those options was Japanese, since its name was OTK Company. It did not take much for Sang-yup to connect all those dots. Jin-woo asks if that is his real reason. Sang-yup nods, yes. Sang-yup nods. Jin-woo pulled him out of a dark hole, and he wanted to properly thank him. Jin-woo just asks him to keep it quiet. No headlines, just peace. Sang-yeop promises but immediately asks about their next move. Jin-woo plays it cool, saying he might stop, but Sang-yeop knows better. He's not buying it. He knows they are setting up a new corporation, and he wants in. He makes his pitch. Jin-woo needs someone good with numbers. An analysis to conquer this market. He is the guy. He has studied. More than anyone, nobody can match his skills. Besides, he trusts. Sang-yeop trusts Jin-woo's instincts and has already decided to work for him. The suit, it turns out, was not just for dinner. It finally clicks for Jin-woo. This is not a thank you dinner, it is a job interview. Sang-yeop lays it out plainly. Jin-woo is the CEO, so the decision is his. Jin-woo thinks it over. His current team is good, but they will not be enough for what is coming. He needs someone to be his hands and feet, someone who gets his vision. He asks Sang-yeop if he is ready for that. Despite being older, Sang-yeop says he has no problem working for Jin-woo and is more than capable of meeting his needs. Jin-woo reflects that a boss's most critical skill is embracing talented people, and right now Park Sang-yeop is the most qualified person he knows. With that, Jin-woo officially hires his new employee. With Park Sang-yeop officially on board, he asks if the team is really just the two of them. Tae-kyu clarifies that his older sister is also part of the operation. She is a team leader at Golden Gate's Asian branch and is handling all their legal and administrative work. Changing the subject, Jin-woo asks how Sang-yeop's old company took his resignation. He says they immediately tried to keep him with a pay raise, which only made him regret not quitting sooner, but now he is focused on riding the wave of the next massive industry reorganization. Sang-yeop explains his thinking. When Apple launched the first iPhone, other companies dismissed it. By doing so, many of them were completely replaced because the iPhone offered multiple devices in one. He believes ordinary people only recognize genius after the world has already changed. He has zero intention of being an ordinary person. He wants to be there right as change happens. Jin-woo realizes Park Sang-yeop is a different breed of thinker. He definitely made the right call bringing him in. Tae-kyu agrees, proposing a toast to the future of their new team. The next morning, Jin-woo wakes up at home with a killer hangover. After pulling himself together, his immediate thought is about his next big investment. Just then, Tae-kyu wakes up too, annoyed by a phone alarm. He sees someone named Shin Yuri is calling his friend and lets him know. Jin-woo answers, and the freshman on the other end asks why he never called her back. Like he promised, he apologizes, claiming he was busy. Shin Yuri is surprisingly understanding. She just invites him to lunch instead. Jin-woo remembers that she is the reason he got that vision about Samsung. He figures the least he can do is buy her a meal to say thanks. She is thrilled he accepted, and they make plans to meet. Tae-kyu immediately wants to know who this girl is. Jin-woo tells him she is just a freshman from his university, which prompts Tae-kyu to ask if they are dating. Jin-woo says no, but his friend reminds him he has a mission to focus on. He cannot afford any distractions. Jin-woo says he understands, but thinking about paying for lunch, he realizes he is completely out of cash. He spent everything, and his new card has not arrived yet. Talk about bad timing. He has to ask his friend for a loan. Jin-woo cannot help but laugh at the irony. Billions in offshore accounts, and he cannot even buy a meal. Tae-kyu lends him the money but tells him to be smart. A while later, Jin-woo meets the freshman at the restaurant. She asks if he had any trouble finding his way to this neighborhood. Jin-woo he mentions he just moved to Gangnam, and this makes her face instantly light up. She points out they can see each other much more often now that they live so close. Jin-woo finds her attitude pretty strange. Even his ex was never this warm. He starts to wonder why this girl is acting so incredibly nice to him. When the bill arrives, Shin Yuri insists on paying because she was the one who invited him. He can get the next one. She says she just hated eating dinner all alone. Having his company made her happy. Then she points toward her massive luxury apartment complex. It is sitting in a premium location. She invites him to come visit sometime. The building features a stunning view of the Han River and a gorgeous lounge area. As they stroll into her luxury complex, Jin-woo notices how incredibly massive the garden paths are. His own place does not have anything close to a walking area this large. Shin Yuri explains she lives completely alone in this giant place since her parents work overseas. Hearing this, Jin-woo can only draw one very obvious conclusion about her. This girl comes from serious money. Not just anyone can afford property here. Right in the middle of their casual walk, she drops a question that makes us all freeze. Something has been on her mind since they met, and she asks him directly. How did he know that Samsung was going to discontinue the L6 phones? His mind immediately flashes back to Tae-kyu's warning about being extremely careful. He has to think fast. He explains that when the device is launched, so many issues popped up online that he simply guessed they would be canceled. Jin-woo admits she initially assumed he had some secret inside source back then. He plays it cool, saying there's no way he could have known for sure, it was just a hunch. She wishes she had known about all those massive problems a lot sooner. It would have saved her a ton of stress. Her mother is absolutely furious. Her mom's Samsung stock completely tanked right after the official news went public. Even with a minor recovery, she is still deep in the red. She wants advice. Should her mom sell everything now or hold? Jin-woo tells her to wait. He is pretty confident that Samsung will bounce back with their next major smartphone. Most people, including her, chose to swap their broken phones instead of demanding refunds. But more importantly, their biggest business is actually semiconductors, not phones. With the chip market booming, they hold a massive edge. Since the chip industry is only going to grow, holding is the best option. Of course, he adds a quick disclaimer. He is absolutely no expert. This is just his own personal opinion, but Shin Yurai does not care. She says even professional analysts get things wrong, so she is trusting him. Jin-woo is pretty surprised to hear that she actually owns stock herself. She explains she used her own allowance to buy shares when prices crashed. A wild thought crosses his mind: if her allowance covers stock portfolios. Yeah, she's not just rich, her family is on an entirely different level. Just then, her grandmother walks up and asks if Jin-woo is her boyfriend. Shin Yurai quickly denies it, but her grandma insists she should marry him. She tells her to lock him down before some other girl steals him. After they say goodbye, Shin Yurai explains her grandmother's interesting history. The elderly woman once owned a small shop on a highly valuable piece of land. She eventually sold it to a major department store, making an absolute fortune. She bought 3 apartments in the brand new building, 1 for herself and 2 for each of her children. Just like that, Jin-woo finally understands the true source of her family wealth, but this is more than some fun fact. Something huge clicks. He tells Shin Yurai that thanks to her, he just figured out his next move. He promises her coffee next time they meet, then bolts. To the poor girl, it is just Jin-woo being weird and running away again, but for him, it is a massive breakthrough. He rushes home and tells his buddy Tae-kyu he knows exactly what to do. Tae-kyu immediately asks if he had another vision, but Jin-woo just says no. He realized apartment redevelopment is the perfect blueprint for their whole plan. He explains how a cheap plot of land with a tiny house can be sold to some massive conglomerate and become a skyscraper, making the owner filthy rich, but that is pure luck. The owner had no real way of knowing. It would become so incredibly valuable. Tae-kyu asks what this has to do with stocks. Jin-woo connects the dots. For major companies, the equivalent of empty land is a startup. Investing in one now means selling that asset for insane profit down the road. The only big difference is they cannot rely on luck. They must target startups with the absolute highest probability of success and invest for the long haul. Tae-kyu sees the logic but points out the massive challenge. Jin-woo quickly reminds him that they hold an unfair advantage over everyone else: the unique ability to spot the winning startups. Now, with their grand strategy set, all that is left is finding their targets. Right after the new year, Jin-woo's mother visits the guys. They share a nice dinner and show her around their brand new apartment. Jin-woo says there is plenty of room for her to move in, but she is happy in her own place. Still, she happily promises to visit more often. When she leaves, Jin-woo gets right back to work. Tae-kyu notes that pretty much every startup is pitching to Golden Gate, so he compiled a list of the most promising ones, but Jin-woo is not interested in those. He wants the list of companies that were completely rejected. His reasoning is quite simple: the startups with guaranteed funding are obvious. The real gems lie with the ones everyone else overlooked, and he is the only one who can spot them. Tae-kyu points out that is a mountain of paperwork for just 2 guys to sift through, but Jin-woo already has a plan. He put his sister on initial screening duty since she is used to repetitive tasks. Still, Jin-woo must personally review her selections. The special vision only works if he does the final check. A bit later, he is tired of going through those Documents one by one, he tries an experiment, touching the whole stack at once. His strange power stirs, confirming that the golden document is in there somewhere, so he spreads every single page out on the floor. He asks his buddy to lay them out with zero overlapping. This new method lets him analyze everything much faster, instantly discarding the useless ones. Several days pass while Jin-woo does all the heavy lifting. Tae-kyu just plays video games. On the couch, eventually, Jin-woo presents a tiny stack of papers with real potential, saying he narrowed it down as much as possible. Tae-kyu tells him to get some rest since he has worked for days. Jin-woo insists he is too far in 10 days to stop now, not when he is this close. Right then, he passes out. Exhausted, he plunges right into another vision, only this time it is not an eagle, it is a unicorn. A message appears, showing him that in a partially unknown Eden, he will find what he seeks. Jin-woo is absolutely thrilled. His vision actually worked. Finally, Jin-woo wakes up. According to his friend, he has been out for nearly 20 hours. He mentions a weird dream about a unicorn, but the details are gone already. Tae-kyu, however, has been busy. He has already drafted a list of potential investment targets and says they must form a specialized negotiation team to get started, but Jin-woo quickly flags the major flaw. Setting up a whole investment firm and recruiting talent will take months. By then, their targets could easily secure other investors. He has a smart two-pronged strategy to make sure they do not miss out. Shortly after, he books an important meeting. Park Sang-yup was told he would meet the team, and his nerves got the better of him. He arrives way ahead of schedule, figuring it cannot hurt to be early, but near the door, he overhears talk of massive investments, instantly shattering his confidence. Inside, Jin-woo, Tae-kyu, and Oh Hyun-ju are analyzing potential startups. Oh Hyun-ju reports that she has already scheduled meetings with foreign companies. Jin-woo wants to avoid Korean startups for now, since OTK is still under the watchful eye of financial supervisors. He must keep things entirely silent, because he knows the plan only works as long as his company is not seen as directly involved. Right then, Park Sang-yup finally enters the room. Jin-woo introduces him as a senior from his university and an experienced mathematician. He then introduces Oh Hyun-ju as the head of Golden Gate's Asian team and Tae-kyu's sister. Once the greetings are done, Jin-woo calls Sang-yup out for listening at the door. Knowing he is far too punctual to have just arrived, he gets straight to the point. He is establishing an investment firm as a subsidiary of OTK company, with OTK as the sole shareholder, and he is entrusting this new subsidiary to Park Sang-yup, backing him with $70 million in capital and offering personal annual salary of $100 million. Sang-yup is completely stunned after their last talk, and let's be real, who would expect this kind of sudden massive break? Besides, you do not invest that kind of money in just anyone. For Jin-woo to handpick him like this proves he has immense faith in his potential. Jin-woo says he knows Sang-yup well enough to trust him with the job. In fact, he says it would be hard to find anyone more capable. All that is left now is to find a solid location for their new office. On that note, Sang-yup mentions he already saw a great spot on his way over. Since Jin-woo had hinted at the topic beforehand, he figured he should get a head start. Jin-woo just smiles. That is exactly why he chose him. Tae-kyu chimes in that now is the perfect time to choose a name for new subsidiary. Jin-woo immediately shuts that down. He is absolutely not letting his friend choose this time, not with his terrible track record of otaku names. Sang-yup points out that the K in OTK stands for guarding or protecting, and suggests they call the subsidiary K Company. Tae-kyu and his sister agree. It is simple, but it is cool. Jin-woo gives the final approval. K Company it is, and with that, he officially names Park Sang-yup the CEO. With the meeting with that settled, Hyun-ju gets busy setting up the new subsidiary. Sang-yat is put in charge of vetting fresh startups for investment. Meanwhile, employees from Golden Gate arrive at K Company headquarters to integrate into the main team. Tae-kyu is completely stunned by their new building. Jin-woo explains it was deliberate. The airport is nearby. This makes it highly accessible for foreign investors. Golden Gate staff, Hyun-ju then mentions a meeting she has scheduled. She hired an international lawyer. Right on cue, the professional arrives. Her name is Ellie Kim, a close friend of Hyun-ju working with Golden Gate. Fresh off her flight, she introduces herself. She lives abroad but loves Korea. Since her father is Korean, she speaks the language completely fluently now. Jin-woo bluntly admits he expected an older man. He asks if she can handle it. Hyun-ju quickly steps in. She vouches completely for her friend's impressive skills. She also explains she only gave Ellie the bare minimum of details. No one at Golden Gate knows Jin-woo owns OTK. He understands the privacy. But he still insists on being in the room for every single meeting. He will let Ellie handle purely legal stuff. Soon, they get ready. Waiting for the first pitch, Jin-woo feels his stomach drop, pure nerves. To the girls, this is just routine work, but the pressure on him is real. He has to lead. The first founders walk in, Toby and Gerald Bacon. They need funding to scale up their startup. The pitch is incredibly bold. They want to build the Netflix of adult content. Toby makes his case. The market is massive but highly unprofessional, flooded with illegal content. He has a plan. Jin-woo already did his research. The business model itself is not bad. However, the adult-only focus severely limits their potential customer base. Tae-kyu, though, he is totally sold. His sister, Hyun-ju, is not. She thinks adult streaming is far too risky of a gamble, but Tae-kyu insists he is the ultimate expert on this topic, urging her to trust him. After serious debate, they make a deal, $9 for 80% of the company. Next up is a startup pitching autonomous pizza cooking machines. For mobile food trucks to cut down labor costs, Tae-kyu is hooked. He loves the idea, but Hyun-ju remains highly skeptical. No surprises there. He claims to be the table's absolute pizza expert, arguing that baking pies on the way to customers is brilliant. Ellie agrees, noting the massive market. For pizza in America, this tech could actually revolutionize the entire industry. They debate. Finally, they agree to invest $7.5 million into the pizza company. By evening, Jin-woo is fully drained. Tae-kyu laughs it off, asking how sitting all day can be exhausting. Jin-woo is honestly impressed by his friend's calm attitude. For him, staring at endless numbers all day is incredibly stressful, head spinning. Jin-woo steps outside for a bit of fresh air and runs right into Ellie. She went for a quick run to shake off the stiffness. Then she asks if he wants to grab a drink. Jin-woo is totally caught off guard, but he says yes. Soon, they are hanging out outside a convenience store. She mentions this is her third time in Korea, but her first working. Jin-woo thanks her, saying her help has been absolutely invaluable. She is utterly impressed, shocked that the startup, which shook up the market, is managed by only 2 people. She mentions how the massive Samsung incident did not just shock Korea, it rocked the entire globe, even her company. Golden Gate, right in the middle of that crisis, a nameless firm called OTK, pulled in millions of dollars. She is utterly amazed, but Jin-woo shrugs it off as nothing but pure beginner luck. Ellie knows it takes far more than that to pull off such a massive play. He tries to deflect her praise, insisting he had a lot of solid support from his close friend and his sister. Ellie notes that with a name like that, most outsiders assumed OTK was a Japanese firm. Honestly, she did too, before meeting them. But since tomorrow is a crucial day, they decide to call it a night and head straight back to their hotel. Before parting ways, Ellie asks Jin-woo who his favorite actor is. He does not really have an answer, or maybe he just wants to keep it to himself. The next morning, they start off meeting a Chinese logistics team, who explain that while China actually has plenty of cargo railways, the country still relies on chaotic road transport. For example, a truck driver might deliver cargo from Shanghai to Xi'an, but then drive all the way back completely empty without a return load. So they created an app to match shippers with available drivers, optimizing routes and slashing heavy costs. Hyun-ju is not fully convinced the system is as efficient as they claim, but the founders stubbornly insist it is highly functional and economical. They suddenly start discussing everything amongst themselves in Chinese, leaving poor Jin-woo completely in the dark. But wait, Ellie understands every word. She cuts right in, assuring them that her firm deeply values their business idea. Just like that, the thick tension instantly dissolves. Ellie's smooth move completely wins over the partners, securing a deal that perfectly satisfies both sides. After hand-picking the right startups for investment, Jin-woo finds himself already missing the raw intensity of those high-stakes meetings. He makes sure to thank Hyun-ju, telling her she was absolutely vital to the deal. A bit later, they stop for lunch. Jin-woo points out that they haven't stopped working ever since they first founded the company and suggests they take a day off. Ellie asks if he has any plans. He has none, so she asks him to be her personal tour guide around Seoul. Hyun-ju immediately chimes in, teasingly asking if Ellie is officially asking their boss out on a date. Ellie boldly confirms that she is, and Jin-woo admits he has no problem with that at all. In that case, she will go get ready and meet him later. Later that day, they meet up in the hotel lobby where Jin-woo is quite dazzled to see Ellie so incredibly dressed up. Meanwhile, outside, his friend Tae-kyu makes a surprise appearance, knowing Jin-woo rarely goes out. Tae-kyu offers to lend him his car. Honestly, Jin-woo would really rather he did not, feeling deeply embarrassed by that over-the-top anime car, but Ellie actually kind of likes it, so now he is completely stuck. On the road, Jin-woo asks if there is anywhere specific she wants to go. She smiles and says she wants to visit a Korean university. Ellie mentions that her previous trips to Korea were strictly for work or tourism. She has heard a lot about Korea University from Hyunju and knows it is Jin-woo's alma mater. For Jin-woo, heading back to his old campus is not a huge deal. The problem is this flashy car he is driving. Once they arrive, Jin-woo explains that some areas are student only, but they can still stroll around the main grounds. It does not take long for his old classmates to spot him in the crowd. He is standing right next to the embarrassing anime car he wanted to hide. One girl named Haimai sneers that he should be totally ashamed to drive that thing. His actual friends just tell him to ignore her, as usual. Annoyed at being ignored, Haimai refuses to let him off so easily. Right then, she notices Jin-woo's ex, Siona, walking nearby. She loudly calls her over immediately, and to make things worse, Siona has company. Her current boyfriend is right there, leaving Jin-woo absolutely mortified. He knows the new guy is rich and drives a much better ride. Haimai knows it too, which is exactly why she set up this awkward reunion. But then Ellie steps up, saying it is a pleasure to meet his friends. She formally introduces herself as a representative from Golden Gate. The whole group is stunned to see Jin-woo with someone so incredibly impressive. Siona's boyfriend, Jun Hyung, introduces himself next and asks a question. He asks what brings her to Korea, and Ellie explains she is here on business. After being cooped up in her hotel, she wanted Jin-woo to show her around. Seizing the opportunity, Jun Hyung hands over his business card and mentions his family ties. His father does business with Golden Gate, and Ellie recognizes the firm. She mentions GH Construction's work in Indonesia, which is news to Jin-woo. Not that he cares, Siona, clearly uncomfortable with the conversation, intervenes. She drags her boyfriend away, and his real friends step in. They invite him and Ellie to lunch, while Haimai is left absolutely fuming. She hates losing the spotlight, muttering that a big firm is no big deal. Eventually, after an entire afternoon of dodging nosy questions, the tour wraps up. Jin-woo decides to take Ellie to see a different part of the city. As they stroll, Ellie remarks that the girl with Jun Hyung was incredibly pretty. Just as pretty as Tae-kyu described, then she lets something slip. She knows he dated Siona for quite a while, right up until his military enlistment. Jin-woo grumbles that Tae-kyu talks way too much, insisting it is in the past. He has absolutely nothing to do with her now. Ellie mentions their busy schedule tomorrow. Even with work tomorrow, she admits she really loved hanging out with him today. Jin-woo smiles and agrees, confessing he had a great time with her as well. Meanwhile, away from school, Jun Hyung notices Siona seems pretty bothered. He knows they dated, but what really felt weird to him was not Jin-woo himself. It was the car. Siona assumes it just belongs to Jin-woo's buddy, Tae-kyu. This only raises more questions for Jun Hyung, who wonders about their exact connection. Why would they know a top lawyer from Golden Gate? Siona explains the connection. Tae-kyu's sister works at Golden Gate's Asian branch, but Jun Hyung still feels uneasy. Something felt off about Jin-woo. He did not seem intimidated by him at all. Siona agrees that Jin-woo has changed, but she is done talking about him. She shuts down the conversation completely. Meanwhile, back with our main character. Jin-woo attends another startup meeting where the owner explains their core focus. They use machine learning to design increasingly complex skyscrapers. This time, Hyunju is deeply impressed and immediately agrees to invest. Right after that, she mentions their next meeting is already lined up. With the next event still a while away, everyone gets a break. Ellie uses this downtime to invite Jin-woo to play squash. He politely turns her down, admitting he's still completely sore from overdoing it. Last time, later, Jin-woo is relaxing with his buddy, noting that for a guy who barely speaks English, Tae-kyu is paying incredibly close Attention, still, the otaku keeps his true motives quiet, only thinking to himself that only one single startup has caught his eye so far. He just tells Jin-woo that since it is his money being invested, he wants to track where it is going. In response, Jin-woo asks if he has ever heard of Sun Masayoshi. Tae-kyu instantly recognizes the name as the mastermind behind Alibaba, the massive Chinese shopping site. Jin-woo explains that back in the early days, eBay completely dominated the online market. But when SoftBank director Sun Masayoshi visited Beijing on a business trip, Alibaba's founder immediately requested a meeting. After just 2 hours of talking, Sun Masayoshi agreed to invest $20 million. Back then, absolutely no one imagined a Chinese platform could rival an American giant, but 20 years down the road, eBay was forced to flee the Chinese market due to miserable sales, and Alibaba went public on the New York Stock Exchange, a massive move. Now, Alibaba is worth $330 billion, easily beating Samsung. SoftBank's $20 million investment for a 30% stake paid off massively. Jin-woo links this directly back to his friend's complaint that none of their current investments have shown any immediate returns. He argues that much like Masayoshi, they are investing in businesses with massive long-term potential. Jin-woo says that just like Sun Masayoshi planted a $20 million seed, which blossomed into 11 trillion, OTK could eventually reach that same level. They just need to pick the perfect startup. This clicks instantly for Tae-kyu, who realizes that with 600 million, they have way more to invest than Masayoshi did, giving them a much wider margin for error. Jin-woo agrees that even if they do not hit it big on their very first shot, one critical success makes it all worthwhile. Just then, Hyunju appears with huge news. She just got a call from the company Jin-woo has been desperate to meet, asking if she should lock in a schedule. Hyunju explains that the executives from Caro's are traveling to Korea, asking if Jin-woo wants to meet them. She notes that not every single startup they invited accepted their pitch, since most already locked down other backing. Jin-woo points out that Caro's originally rejected their initial pitch. Hyunju clarifies that OTK's first offer simply was not enough to get their attention. Soon after, Caro's CEO Ryan Gates and CFO Sergey Jovanovich touched down in Korea. After Hyunju and Ellie introduced themselves, the two suit-wearing executives look right past Jin-woo and Tae-kyu, treating them like simple assistants. Talk about a massive mistake. They ask who holds decision-making authority. Hyunju calmly informs them that she does. Business sorted, Ryan gets straight to the point. Caro's needs an investment of $100 million. Hyunju does not blink, confirming they are completely capable of providing that exact amount. Jin-woo sees she has the arrogant foreign visitors handled and decides to let her run the meeting. Ryan offers to simplify his project pitch, but Hyunju cuts him off. She is already fully familiar with the details, wanting to hear about their current complicated situation, so Sergey lays out the actual history. The modern car market is a market ruled by two things: electric and self-driving cars. 5 years ago, Amazon poured in massive funding. Hyundai followed quickly. A Japanese stake went to Caro's next, but Amazon soon gave up. They sold out to Hyundai, who grabbed Caro's and locked down the market. This leaves Hyunju asking the obvious question: why sell now? Sergey steps in to explain. Their partnership completely fell apart. A Samsung-owned rival was simply faster and cheaper, leaving Caro's in the dust. Now completely redundant, Hyundai just wants to dump these patents for cash. Hearing this, Tae-kyu loses it. He refuses to stay silent. He demands to know why they are buying Hyundai's rejected, useless scraps. He whirls around to Jin-woo, asking if he knew about this. Jin-woo calmly nods. That is exactly the answer that sets Tae-kyu off. He instantly drags Jin-woo out of the room. Time for a private talk. Tae-kyu snaps that Jin-woo is acting crazy and demands a real explanation. Ellie watches quietly, wondering if this business deal is actually deeply personal. Get ready, because the truth is heavy. Hyundai destroyed his entire family. It literally drove his father to his grave. His dad ran a small shop, DHK Engineering Korea, just 10 employees. After years of grinding, he finally perfected a breakthrough suspension system. Just as he was ready to patent it, Hyundai came knocking. They offered to buy his tech, but demanded a physical prototype first. They claimed they needed to test it, then they canceled. It was a lie. They stole the prototype and patented it themselves. They robbed the actual creator. His father never recovered. He carried that pain to his grave. Ellie asks if they got any compensation. Hyunju steps in, explaining that Ellie is looking at this like a foreigner. She points out that in Korea, tiny startups never beat corporate monsters. A little guy stands zero chance in court against a massive conglomerate. The giants just drag things out, burying the victim in fees. Even with that history, Jin-woo insists he is keeping emotions separate. He claims this is strictly business, but Hyunju still hates the deal. She warns that dumping massive capital into a hollow company is foolish. Buying a company with zero leverage is just a terrible investment, Ellie agrees. Those patents are only worth $50 million, making double that a guaranteed loss. It also locks up most of their $120 million capital. That heavily restricts future choices. Tae-kyu is also completely against it, for the simple reason that he refuses to help Hyundai make money. Jin-woo understands their concerns. Without his special foresight, he would also reject this. Hyunju notes that her only duty is providing this hard financial analysis. Ultimately, the decision belongs to the boss. Tae-kyu asks for his choice. Jin-woo decides he wants a face-to-face meeting with the CEO of Caros. But the representative, Ryan, claims his boss is far too busy right now. That is why they sent him instead. Hyunju is not buying it. She reminds them that Caros needs help, and a $100 million offer is not something they can just casually ignore. That leaves the Caros. The reps promise to talk to their boss and set up a meeting soon after. Tae-kyu admits he does not really get it. Still, he respects his friend's decision. But he has to ask, is Jin-woo truly satisfied with this? Our protagonist thinks back to how he was up all night asking himself that exact same question. Ultimately, he chose to trust his vision. He locks his personal feelings away. Soon after, Darryl Sagan, the chief executive of Caros, arrives at the hotel to greet Jin-woo. The moment they shake hands, another sudden vision strikes our protagonist, and with that, he gets every single bit of confirmation he needs. Now, he is fully ready to see the acquisition of Caros through to the very end. At the meeting, Darryl Sagan lays out his company vision. He explains that modern cars are no longer just engines and wheels anymore. They are rolling computers, and Caros plans to build an artificial intelligence that can control the entire vehicle completely on its own. Hyunju points out that this kind of technology is already on the market, but Sagan clarifies that his software is different. It is not just some basic autopilot system. It is a true artificial intelligence capable of thinking like a real human. But despite how interesting the project is, Hyundai is not buying in. That is why Caros needs a new investor. Sagan explains that Hyundai only cares about immediate profits, neglecting massive long-term projects to stick with basic, generic software. Jin-woo suddenly realizes that of all the ventures his company has ever backed, absolutely nothing compares to the AI system Sagan is describing right now. It is all starting to click. This is why his future vision brought him here. He asks about the current ownership structure of Caros. Sagan lays it out. Hyundai owns 86%. He holds 6.5%, and the employees have the remaining 7.5%. He explains that talent in Silicon Valley is incredibly expensive, so they offer stock options instead of massive salaries. Jin-woo knows buying out Hyundai's massive stake will cost a fortune, but he is determined to make it happen. Still, he will not pay their full asking price. After all, Caros is the one in a rush, not OTK instead. Jin-woo announces that OTK will invest in Caros directly. He also promises that, unlike Hyundai, OTK will never interfere with their management or their projects. He believes that even without immediate results, Caros has the potential to achieve something truly massive. On those exact terms, Darryl Sagan agrees. He will leave Hyundai and sign with OTK. Jin-woo cannot wait for their rivals to realize the massive mistake they just made. They literally just abandoned a company that is going to be worth billions in a few short years. Tae-kyu celebrates as well, even though he was totally against the idea at first, but he trusts his friend's judgment. After his last terrible ride, Jin-woo decides it is time for an upgrade. He never wants to set foot in his friend's beat-up car again, so they head to a BMW center. Jin-woo has a special appointment to test drive a few premium models. Tae-kyu remarks that they are the only ones who know the future of transportation is all about AI. The girls go grab some coffee. Jin-woo and Tae-kyu begin browsing. Their sudden arrival catches the eye of two local salesmen. one immediately writes them off as broke. Students who are just here for window shopping. The other, a rookie, figures he might as well get some basic customer service practice out of the situation. He approaches and offers a test drive, suggesting a popular new convertible, the 4 Coupe. But Jin-woo already has his eye on something else. The rookie compliments his taste, pointing out it is BMW's best-selling model. He shows them around and drops the price tag. 140 million won. Jin-woo pauses, while Tae-kyu jokes that the price is in won. Not dollars, of course. Still, Jin-woo admits he does not have that cash in his account. So he asks to borrow it. Tae-kyu tosses his card over. He tells Jin-woo to just pay him back later, using his future company dividends. Feeling rich, Tae-kyu decides he wants a new ride too, aiming for the absolute priciest one. He picks the top sports car. The salesman assumes they cannot afford anything. He is just going through the motions, expecting these young guys to balk. And get this, his jaw drops when Jin-woo casually says he will take both cars. Rookie dealer Kim Do-hyun just learned a lesson. Everyone is a potential VIP. He happily runs off to grab the contracts, leaving his bitter senior colleague to stew. He is burning with jealousy over the massive commission. Jin-woo turns to Tae-kyu. He asks if his friend likes the ride. Tae-kyu does, but says it lacks decal space. Jin-woo completely agrees, laughing that the sleek car looks much better stock. Tae-kyu reminds him that this is already the second time he has lent him cash. He brings up the 100,000 won for that date, and Ellie hears everything. She comments that this special date must have been pretty important to warrant a loan. Tae-kyu throws him under the bus, adding that Jin-woo even walked her home. Feeling the tension rise, Hyun-ju jumps in to change the subject immediately. She asks if they finally bought anything. Her brother proudly shows off his purchase. Jin-woo points to his new car too. Ellie notes he will not look poor anymore. Jin-woo pulls her aside, quietly begging her not to mention the last car incident. It is a bit petty, but he really does not want to hurt his friend. Ellie realizes right then that Jin-woo is a much more loyal friend than he seems. With some hours left before her flight, she invites the whole group to an amusement park. Hyun-ju is miserable the whole time, absolutely hating all the fast roller coasters. When the day ends, Ellie and Hyun-ju wave goodbye and head out on their trip. Jin-woo tells Tae-kyu that the most stressful part of their setup is finally over. Their investment plays are set. Now they just wait for the startups to pay off. They can relax for once. Later on, they arrive at their new subsidiary headquarters. Park Sang-yup greets them warmly to congratulate them on closing the massive deal. But Jin-woo immediately notices that the poor guy is running completely on fumes. He insists he is totally fine, just working hard to hold down the fort. Dinner is suggested, but they end up ordering delivery to the office instead. It turns out Sang-yup has not found an apartment yet and has been living right there since he started. Jin-woo decides this cannot go on any longer. They must hire more staff, so the poor guy is not working all alone. He admits he has a specific candidate in mind, named Jeong Gi-hong. Jin-woo recognizes the name, but is hesitant to hire close friends right now. Moving on, Sang-yup asks about the next targets they should invest in. He really wants to understand Jin-woo's incredibly bizarre and random selection criteria. His choices do not follow any recognizable market trends at all. It is almost like a ghost is directing him. Jin-woo simply laughs it off. He claims he targets raw growth potential, operating strictly on an all-or-nothing system. That vague answer does not satisfy Sang-yup, who warns him he is playing a dangerous game. To him, Jin-woo is far beyond any genius. This goes way deeper than raw intuition. Either way, Sang-yup reports that, after establishing their company headquarters, they have 6 billion left from the initial 70 and he wants to invest it. Jin-woo agrees. He asks if there is any promising lead, and as it turns out, he already has a solid list of potential targets ready. A few days later, negotiations with Hyundai wrap up. BOTK acquires Caros for 88 million. Well below expected value. On top of that, the cars Jin-woo purchased are finally delivered to his place. Time to ride. He decides to take his brand new wheels out for a spin, starting with his mother. She is currently packing up and preparing to move to her new house. Jin-woo presents the luxury car as a special gift. Completely speechless, she asks how much a machine like this could possibly cost. He smiles. The price does not matter as long as she likes it. Tae-kyu has a gift. 2. Arriving at the new house, he reveals he has already furnished the entire place with top-tier appliances. Naturally, their mother is overwhelmed. She insists she does not deserve all this. Jin-woo tells her not to worry about a single thing and simply enjoy her new life. He plans to do the same. Next up, traveling the world. His mother asks if he and Tae-kyu are studying abroad together. Tae-kyu, however, wants no part of this plan. Too bad, a year passes, and the two of them end up on a massive world tour anyway. Tae-kyu was basically dragged along, which is why he is weeping with joy to finally be back home. Right then, Shin Yuri calls Jin-woo. Deadline time. Today is the last day to re-enroll at the university. Jin-woo agrees to meet. Seeing him prepare to leave, Tae-kyu asks where he is heading when they literally just got back. Jin-woo explains he is heading to campus, intending to finally finish his degree. Meeting up with Shin Yuri, he finds out she also took a gap year. And that is exactly why she insisted so heavily that they return at the exact same time. She invites him to get some lunch, mentioning there is another matter she wants to discuss. Jin-woo leads her to a car, clarifying that it is actually not his. It belongs to his friend. Shin Yuri is quite impressed that someone would just lend out a luxury car like that. Jin-woo simply notes his buddy is a massive shut in, so the vehicle mostly just sits in the garage. At the restaurant, Jin-woo glances at the expensive menu. Is she really sure about paying the bill? She insists, explaining she owes him for answering all her calls throughout the past year. It helped her get through the loneliness. Plus, she made a fortune on Samsung stock thanks to his brilliant investment tips. With those updates out of the way, she asks what he plans to focus on now. Jin-woo admits he is actually planning another quick trip soon, specifically to Hong Kong to visit an old friend. Shin Yuri mentions she has always wanted to visit and hopes to travel there during their next break. Once they are back home, Tae-kyu approaches Jin-woo with a massive emergency on his hands. The highly anticipated sequel to his absolute favorite video game was just cancelled due to a total lack of funding. He loves this franchise so much he even had his old car wrapped with the main character, unable to let his dream game die. He begs Jin-woo to rescue the studio, framing the investment as a noble cause for gamers everywhere. The required funding is 100 billion, but Tae-kyu insists that is totally irrelevant for a real fan. Jin-woo first thinks he should normally decline an investment like this, but then he thinks about everything Tae-kyu has done for both him and his mother. He feels he owes him this much. He wants to make his friend happy, so he agrees to set up a quick meeting to discuss the details. Right after that is settled, Yuri calls Jin-woo again, desperately asking for his help. Apparently, a guy from her department has been stalking her and she is completely lost. She asks if he will be back to campus soon, hoping he can help her deal with the situation. The very next day, after a long 3-year absence, Jin-woo finally steps back onto university grounds. He makes sure to visit his old professor first. They catch up for a moment before Jin-woo mentions his special gift. The professor instantly refuses. He points out that under the anti-corruption law, even a glass of water is banned. Jin-woo asks if that strict rule also applies to an autograph from Chase Southwell. He knows his professor is a massive fan, explaining that a friend's sister works at Golden Gate and managed to grab it for him. Chase Southwell is one of Golden Gate's 5 top directors, currently heading up their Asian sector. Just 1 week ago, Jin-woo and the entire OTK team visited Hong Kong at his personal invitation. Chase told them he was highly eager to meet them in person. After some warm praise, he noted that Golden Gate had profited handsomely from their partnership with OTK. He hopes they continue doing well, hinting that some great news is coming their way by the end of the year. Back in the present, Jin-woo sits in class reviewing the lecture material with a classmate. Their quiet conversation is interrupted by a group of girls asking about the handsome new guy, his classmate. Jungal introduces Jin-woo, clarifying he is not a freshman, but a returning student. Back from a long leave of absence, the girls are totally captivated by his looks. Jungal quickly shoos them away, claiming they are in the middle of something important. Jin-woo suddenly remembers he is supposed to meet Yuri Rai, so he invites his classmates along. He tries calling Yuri, but she does not pick up. His classmate takes the chance to ask if he still keeps in touch with that lawyer Ellie. Jin-woo explains she returned to Hong Kong, so they have not seen each other lately. Suddenly, Jin-woo spots Yuri up ahead, cornered by some pushy guy. Jungal identifies him as Ki Myung-ho, the wealthy heir to a fast food chain. He warns Jin-woo that Myung-ho has a terrible Reputation with women on campus, basically a walking red flag, so. Naturally, Jinwoo does the exact opposite, walking straight over and pulling Yuri away from the confrontation. Ki Myung-ho instantly demands to know who he thinks he is. Jinwoo introduces himself as Yuri's senior, telling the guy to stop bothering her. Myung-ho claims he was only gathering freshmen for lunch and was not trying to cause trouble. Yuri makes it clear she is completely uninterested, telling him to stop being so pushy. Jinwoo realizes this is definitely the stalker she mentioned and calmly informs Myung-ho that she already has plans with him. Ki Myung-ho just scoffs, saying everyone is always available for him and this freshman should know her place. Jinwoo just ignores him and walks off with Yuri, leaving the spoiled brat talking to himself. He really does not take it well. Anyway, Jinwoo invites Yuri to lunch, asking if his classmates can join too. She is absolutely thrilled with the invitation and happily agrees. Unfortunately, their good mood does not last long. Ki Myung-ho comes storming back, trying to physically drag Yuri away. Instantly, Jinwoo steps in to ensure the creep cannot lay a single hand on his friend. He grabs the spoiled kid by the arm and yanks him back. Myung-ho does not appreciate this. Before things escalate, a senior student named Gi-won suddenly steps in and demands to know what is going on. He lectures Jinwoo that seniority does not give him the right to attack younger classmates. Jinwoo firmly insists he was not attacking anyone, but Gi-won points out he was physically holding the other guy down. The spoiled brat Myung-ho plays it cool and says everything is fine now, but while he is trying to act tough, he is actually absolutely seething inside. The senior student walks off with Myung-ho, giving Jinwoo a final warning that he will be keeping a close eye on him. Afterward, Yuri explains that Myung-ho is a known menace. He constantly harasses her, even calling her in the dead of night. Honestly, the entire department is completely sick of him. Jinwoo gets the feeling this guy will be a major headache later on. They head out for lunch as planned, but their destination is completely packed. They end up sharing the only free table left, which just happens to be occupied by Siona. They try to make polite conversation, but the tension is thick. Still, Jinwoo's friends figure this awkwardness is better than sitting with those other annoying students, and right on cue, here comes more trouble. The three worst troublemakers walk in. Naturally, Myung-ho immediately spots Yuri and acts like it is a happy coincidence. He wastes no time trying to get under Jinwoo's skin, bringing up rumors that his family went bankrupt. Jinwoo does not even flinch, refusing to give him any satisfaction. So Myung-ho pivots back to hitting on Yuri, despite her clear rejection. He smugly claims that girls who play hard to get are the most attractive. Siona finally speaks up, pointing out that women just do not like guys who cannot take a hint. Myung-ho ignores her, offering 1 million won to anyone who leaves the table so he can talk to Yuri alone. Jinwoo counters, offering double that if Myung-ho eats somewhere else instead. Myung-ho just laughs, calling it pocket change for his rich family. He mocks Jinwoo, asking if he is really trying to buy him off for pennies. Jinwoo replies it was just a joke. After all, nobody would waste 2 million won on someone so annoying. Furious, Myung-ho accuses Jinwoo of showing off for the girls and challenges him to a high-stakes game. They have 2 hours to lay out as much cash as they can on the table. Whoever has less must drop out of college forever. Jinwoo accepts the challenge, leaving his friends absolutely horrified. None of them think he has a single penny. A bit later, Gi-won confiscates everyone's phones to make sure word of this illegal bet does not leak. Myung-ho kicks things off, reminding everyone of the 2-hour limit and cash-only rule. No checks, no property deeds allowed. He starts by placing 5 million won. Jinwoo matches it, then adds an extra 150,000. Left in his wallet, Myung-ho is stunned, having fully believed the bankruptcy. To shut up the rumors, he slams down a briefcase stuffed with 100 million won. Everyone is stunned, truly. Most of them have never seen this much cash piled up in one place, but Yuri, calm, she knows Jinho has this. Jinho is going to win, easily. Myung-ho smirks, offering a final way out. Yield now and they can forget everything, but Jinho just laughs it off. He calmly reminds him the game lasts for 2 hours. He is just waiting for his money to arrive. Seeing this, Siona thinks he is being incredibly stupid. Then she spots a familiar face and freezes. Tae-kyu has arrived, carrying 2 massive bags of cash. He asks if this blonde kid is the one causing his Buddy a hard time, Jin-ho nods and Tae-kyu proceeds to dump an almost uncountable mountain of money onto the table. Jin-ho turns to Myung-ho and asks if he still wants to play. Myung-ho is shocked, demanding to know how Jin-ho is walking. Round with $500 million in cash. Yuri, however, expected exactly this. Not to be outdone, Myung-ho grabs his phone to order $1 billion in cash. But Tae-kyu has zero interest in waiting around while this kid whines. He simply tosses Myung-ho a card. Myung-ho is completely lost, Jin-ho explains that if they bend the rules, that card works as a virtual check. Myung-ho sneers, pointing out he could write down any ridiculous number he wants. But Jin-ho counters that a massive corporate heir would never lie about his assets. Besides, everyone knows his family company is worth a fortune. Hearing this, Myung-ho realizes Jin-ho is fully prepared to cover any amount he names. He looks at that single open bag, wondering exactly how much more Jin-ho has. Deciding to risk it all, Myung-ho declares his absolute limit is $2.5 billion. Jin-ho immediately agrees. From now on, that is what the card represents. Myung-ho is paralyzed. Jin-ho is taking his word, meaning he had the cash all along. Tae-kyu just smirks. Those cash bags, not their only trick, not by a mile. A quick flashback shows Siona scolding Jin-ho before the game even started. She insisted he had zero chance, but Jin-ho just asked Yuri for cash. Yuri happily emptied her entire wallet. Siona hesitated, but Jin-ho was just too confident. Even against a powerful opponent, his supreme confidence was impossible to ignore. Still, she felt sure this would end in total, painful defeat. And she hated watching him throw away his entire college education over a game. Back in the present, Siona and the rest of the room can only stare in shock. Tae-kyu called a Golden Gate representative, Yu Seong-moo, who has just arrived. He brings in several massive briefcases. Jin-ho announces the total amount. These cases hold over 6 billion won. Now it is Myung-ho's turn to panic. Getting 1 billion was a stretch. 6 billion, absolutely impossible to cover. He cannot comprehend how a kid from a failed family has these connections. Furious, Myung-ho demands to know what he did to deserve this humiliation. Tae-kyu tells him his family chicken brand is terrible, which explains the lack of wealth. Jin-ho calmly asks if Myung-ho knows how to write out a college withdrawal form. The spoiled brat finally gets it. He has no choice but to surrender. Jin-ho tells the Golden Gate representative to pack up the winnings. But right before they do, he suddenly reaches down and grabs a single pack of bills. He grabs some cash. Everyone is getting dinner on his dime tonight. As he leaves, Siona stops him to ask about that Golden Gate lawyer. He brushes her off, simply saying his friends are pretty powerful. Why explain anything? He does not owe her a single word. So he just walks away, leaving her to wonder, then meets Sang-yeop. Sang-yeop wishes he could have seen the drama unfold, but Jin-woo wants updates. How is K Company doing? Sang-yeop reports his personal bets paid off. The company is growing insanely fast, making serious waves all over Korea. They even hired Yoon Gae-hong, who is already doing great things. But this isn't a social call. Sang-yeop straight up asks what Jin-woo wants. Jin-woo tells him to ignore startups and move long-term holdings into short-term. A massive shift is coming, and he wants them completely prepared. The second he gives the word, Sang-yeop must liquidate every single asset. Cash is king. 15 days later, the new university semester officially begins. After his major showdown, only Yuri still treats him like a normal friend. The biggest shocker, Lee Haimai, she used to look down on him. Now she is practically begging for his attention, but he is completely unfazed. He only has eyes for his new car, glad to stop borrowing rides. Yuri walks up, asking if this is that rental car he mentioned. Jin-woo already has his lie ready, claiming he is just working for a boss. He says the car and money belong to Yoon Gae-hong, a major name. It is a simple cover story to keep his massive wealth totally hidden. Yuri finds it a little weird, but she decides to trust him. He offers her a spin in the car, but mid-drive her phone starts ringing. Her father is flying to the UK over a sudden Brexit voting schedule issue. That single word triggers a terrifying vision. Jin-woo freezes in shock. He almost crashes the car, swerving wildly to avoid a massive oncoming truck. Yuri is terrified, but he blames it on a brief distraction. Once they pull over, he immediately asks what her father has to do with Brexit. She explains he works in finance, recently moving back to Korea from abroad. Hearing this, Jin-woo suddenly claims he has an urgent matter to handle. Uri isn't even mad, getting used to his sudden exits by now. The vision was clear, the Brexit vote is passing. He immediately calls his friend, telling him to gather every piece of info fast. Back at their place, Tae-kyu reports their gaming investment is doing incredibly well. The fans are happy, but Jin-woo is already focused on something else. He explains that the United Kingdom is about to leave the European Union, and he plans to make an absolute fortune off of the chaos. Tae-kyu asks for the logic, why make such a risky play on this? Jin-woo breaks it down simply, the British want their independence back. They want their own laws and financial freedom from the continent. If the vote passes, both the euro and the pound will separate completely. That shockwave will rattle the entire global market. His friend asks how they can invest during a major collapse. Jin-woo just smiles, panic is the perfect time to get rich. They have done this before, but this time, they are not targeting just a single company. They are aiming for the global financial market, with one crucial difference. Back during the L6 incident, the exact shutdown date was a mystery. Now Jin-woo knows the vote falls on June 23rd. They hold the perfect opportunity, standing far more prepared than they ever were before. Later on, Jin-woo greets his team at the airport, thanking them for arriving so fast. He then leads the entire group, including Park Sung-yeop, to a restaurant. There, Ellie breaks down the highly tense situation in the United Kingdom. The public is fiercely divided over the approaching vote to leave the Union. She is totally convinced this exit attempt will fail based on the polls. Oh Hyun-ju agrees it is far too risky. It would trigger massive instability, exposing their economy to diplomatic risks. She mentions that major corporations like Golden Gate are already planning to flee. They plan to relocate to Germany or France. With such high stakes, she asks Jin-woo why he is so intensely interested. That is when he lays out his plan, and it is absolutely massive. He wants to use his shares from both startups as collateral for a loan. Then he intends to bet it all on the exit vote passing. Hyun-ju instantly calls him crazy. Every piece of data says he will lose. Jin-woo knows this, but here is the twist. His visions already proved him right. He just has to convince them to back this play without revealing his powers. Predictably, the whole group is against it, preferring to trust the real experts. But Jin-woo argues that financial experts are not always as smart as they look. He brings up quiet voters, the ones who hide their true opinions. They keep silent until election day. Beyond pure economics, there is also a deep cultural rivalry with Germany. Many British voters deeply resent playing second fiddle to a historical competitor. Jin-woo explains he has a specific strategy to turn this friction into profit. But to make it work, he needs his entire team to completely trust him. Girls still think it is absolute madness, and Ellie asks for his motive. Why gamble everything on this single play? It sparks a distant memory in him. He remembers an old promise made with a friend to go all in. For Jin-woo, this is about testing his supernatural foresight to the absolute limit. The money is nice, but unlocking his true potential matters far more. He tells the team this golden opportunity is simply too massive to ignore. However, Sung-yeop points out the dark truth. If they fail, both companies collapse. Jin-woo remains completely calm, meeting his gaze with total confidence. He says they can just build everything back from zero if it fails. Just like Sung-yeop did before, hearing this, he smiles. Jin-woo is right. Sung-yeop realized he had grown far too comfortable. He forgot his original hunger. He is officially in. Seeing his resolve, Yoon-ju yields. She realizes she cannot sway Jin-woo, so the entire group steps in line. He knows they think he is mad, but that will change very soon. Once his vision plays out, they will see the absolute truth. Now, with everyone united, it is finally time to go print some money. Shortly after, OTK borrows $10 billion. They decide to bet every single cent on Brexit getting approved. This massive gamble instantly triggers panic across the London currency market. Everyone is desperately trying to figure out what is actually happening. They want to know why some unknown company is buying British stocks. The sudden panic is definitely not just a local issue. Tokyo is shaking, and even Japanese analysts are totally baffled. They cannot predict what this venture firm is trying to achieve. Back with Jin-woo, he explains this is a major strategic play. Tae-hyuk finally gets it. They are betting on currency. They expect the pound and yen to rise, while others bet against them. Jin-woo thinks their panic is totally normal under the circumstances. Massive cash dumps always force a central bank to fight back. He compares this to 1992, when George Soros attacked the market. That legendary move practically broke the entire economy of the United Kingdom. The British central bank suffered heavy losses and almost abandoned their pound. Soros had borrowed massive amounts of pounds just before the crash. He repaid the debt with cheaper currency, pocketing $1 billion. But Soros did not just stop there with his team. They targeted Southeast Asian markets, triggering a massive regional financial crisis. Tae-hyuk wonders if that was what caused Korea's economic crash. Jin-woo explains it was complex, but OTK is executing a similar strategy. Now prepare yourself, they are about to pull off the exact same maneuver. Tae-hyuk promises to stand by Jin-woo, but still feels a bit uneasy. He asks if stealing billions from another nation's economy is truly ethical. Jin-woo argues that a wealthy superpower will easily absorb the blow. The British and their global allies will recover in no time. Soon, other financial institutions notice that OTK is backing Brexit. Several of them immediately rush to copy their bold move. Inside the London Exchange, an officer watches the currency rise rapidly. The boss realizes OTK is continuing to manipulate the market. He wonders if this tiny firm really plans to fight the world. Back with Jin-woo, Tae-hyuk points out they are betting against the entire market. Jin-woo smiles. This is actually the complete polar opposite. Ultimately, the British public themselves will decide their own fate. A bit later, Jin-woo receives a call during his walk. It is Chase Southwell, wanting to discuss their currency trades. Chase admits Jin-woo is a brilliant investor, but issues a warning. He warns that this time, Jin-woo will be entirely on his own. Chase advises his friend to withdraw immediately before it is too late. Jin-woo is just flattered that a legend considers him a friend. However, he has absolutely no intention of backing down now. Chase will understand his reasons once the final results are in. Until then, he politely asks Chase to stay out of his way. Decision and wishes him luck. Then, he calls Golden Gate's United Kingdom branch with a simple instruction. He feels the final results are going to surprise everyone. So he just lets it ride. Meanwhile, over at K Company, Yoon Gi-hong is getting cold. He admits their current gamble feels far too risky. Park Sang-yup confesses he felt exactly the same way initially, yet he is the one who raised trillions of won under the K Company name and threw it all into derivatives, something he never imagined. Doing at this stage, all they can do is trust the strategy. Finally, the big vote day arrives. Tae-kyung is glued to the news at home, while Jin-woo calmly gets ready for class. Tae-kyung cannot believe his friend is actually going to school on the absolute biggest day for their company, but Jin-woo points out that watching changes nothing. Honestly, his extreme confidence is pretty terrifying. He already knows exactly how this will play out. Tae-kyung is not nearly as relaxed. Even with Jin-woo's prediction, the guy is an absolute wreck after betting everything he owns. He literally begs Jin-woo to promise they will still be friends even if they lose it. All Jin-woo agrees but tells him to stop being so dramatic. It is not going to come to that. With those words, Jin-woo heads off to campus and bumps into Yuri. She tells him she stayed up all night, far too anxious about the Brexit vote to sleep, and almost skipped class entirely. Soon, they bump into Siona and her boyfriend, Jun-young. Siona points out that Yuri seems to hang around Jin-woo constantly these days, asking if they are close. Yuri simply replies that Jin-woo takes really good care of her. Jun-young, meanwhile, has heard a rumor that Jin-woo is close with the chief of K Company. He asks if Jin-woo can arrange a meeting for him, and Jin-woo agrees to talk to his partner about it later. Soon after, Jin-woo finds a group of classmates running a casual betting pool on the Brexit results. They ask if he wants to join. Jin-woo immediately puts his cash on the United Kingdom leaving the Union, leaving his classmates shocked. Nearly everyone else voted the opposite way. Jun-young steps up and confidently places his bet on the United Kingdom staying. Not wanting to be left out, Yuri decides to bet the same way as Jin-woo. Siona asks if she is truly certain about this, but Yuri nods. She trusts Jin-woo completely because he has an uncanny knack for getting these massive predictions right. As the real votes roll in and the Remain side leads, talk about stressful. Back at the office, Park Sang-yup starts losing his mind while his entire team begins to panic. He steps out to make an urgent call. Right in the middle of class, Yuri notes that Jin-woo's phone just will not stop buzzing. Jin-woo sees the caller as Hyun-ju and quickly excuses himself to take it. For a quick second, he starts to worry if Hyun-ju is calling. It must be incredibly serious. He wonders if this is the very first time his prediction has failed, but then the vision flashes in his mind just as vividly as before, confirming that Brexit will absolutely happen. On the other end of the line, Hyun-ju is frantic. She urges him that they still have time to pull out and minimize their losses if he will just give the command, but Jin-woo is now entirely certain. He tells her to sell the remaining $3 billion with 50 times leverage against the British pound. Hyun-ju does not take this news well at all, convinced that Jin-woo has lost his mind. Jin-woo understands her panic, but he insists he is positive Brexit is going to happen and there is no time to explain. He just asks her to trust his judgment and execute the plan. After hanging up, Hyun-ju decides she desperately needs a drink. When Ellie asks if this is all about Jin-woo, Hyun-ju admits she has to follow. Ellie can barely process this incredibly risky order with a clear head. She strongly disagrees, but she has to follow her boss's command. Looking closely at the operations, she realizes Jin-woo is fully committed to this gamble, making her feel like she desperately needs a drink. Meanwhile, Park Sang-yeob desperately gets Jin-woo on the line, trying to convince him to change his mind before the vote ends, but the young mastermind tells him it is too late. He already ordered Hyun-ju to sell off every single asset. There is no going back. This terrifying news sends Sang-yeob into a complete panic. Jin-woo tries to calm him down, insisting that he knows exactly what he is doing. To succeed, he needs absolute trust. Over in England, people are already celebrating, absolutely certain that Europe will remain unified. At the London Exchange, the director asks if OTK is still holding its massive position. His employee confirms they are, but assumes they will give up any second now. The boss figures some stubborn fool is running the show, pitying their helpless staff. After ending his call, Jin-woo is left alone with his mounting doubts. Even though he saw this future twice, the immense pressure is still suffocating. Just then Siona finds him outside. Their lecture is finished and she asks him what he is doing. He murmurs he is just trying to get some rest. To cheer him up, Siona happily announces that he won their classroom bet. Historic voting has officially ended. Brexit passed and Jin-woo stands completely frozen. This monumental news does not just affect him, it shocks the entire globe. Honestly, talk about a total game changer. The entire global market is completely blindsided. Over in London, they watch in horror as the British pound plunges into freefall. The lead trader, William, instantly realizes that OTK never gave up. He concludes that England has officially found a brand new financial villain to hate. News of this absolute chaos spreads like wildfire. In Seoul, Young-gi realizes he made the ultimate decision by joining this firm, forever grateful for Jin-woo's high-stakes gamble. Meanwhile, Ellie tracks down her close colleague to celebrate this mind-blowing victory. She asks if Hyun-ju has reached out to Jin-woo yet, but she shakes her head. She has absolutely zero energy left after the madness, asking Ellie to call him. Far across the ocean, Chase Southwell stares blankly at OTK's final profit numbers. He quietly admits to himself that he completely misjudged Jin-woo's brilliant potential. With a track record this historic, the young man's identity will not stay hidden. Regrets are completely pointless now. Chase decides he would much rather be an ally. He immediately picks up the phone and orders his team to expand their reach. Golden Gate must establish their Korean branch as fast as humanly possible. This single Brexit vote secured K Company nearly 6 trillion won in total assets. Meanwhile, OTK Company skyrocketed to 45 trillion won. Tae-kyu is celebrating their historic victory when a shocking realization suddenly hits him hard. Jin-woo has just become the single wealthiest person in the entire country. He had not even considered it, but his ecstatic friend is absolutely right. The global news cycle is completely dominated by the shocking Brexit outcome. Everyone is hunting for the mysterious firm that quietly made trillions overnight. Tae-kyu chuckles at the fame, but Jin-woo notes this situation is much worse. Millions of angry British citizens have essentially declared absolute war on their firm. They are officially more hated than George Soros, so visiting London is definitely out. Right on cue, Park Sang-yeob calls Jin-woo with some pressing news. Even get into his own building today, because it is completely surrounded by reporters. He needs a plan. As Jin-woo watches the news, he notices the media is already obsessed with a brand new story. Golden Gate is opening. Branch in South Korea. Jin-woo is caught off guard by this move, but then he recalls his last conversation with Chase Southwell, realizing this is a direct message just for him. Tae-kyu starts worrying about his sister, since the Asian division used to run all Korean operations. Jin-woo tells him not to fret, figuring she and Ellie will simply be relocated to the new Korean office. He is right. Soon, Hyunju gets the news that she is heading back to her home country. Chase Southwell tells her she will run the new branch with full authority. She is now the director of Golden Gate, South Korea. Sometime later, Jin-woo heads to the K Company building to check on Park Sang-yeob. Immediately, reporters swarm him. Jin-woo always knew this day would come, he just did not expect it today, but they do not want to ask about his massive success. They know he is close to Park Sang-yeob and hope to use him to reach the chief executive. Jin-woo simply says he has class and cannot stay over at Tae-kyu's place. Park Sang-yeob says his phone will not stop ringing. He must change his number. His entire neighborhood is currently staked out. If this keeps up, he will have to move. Tae-kyu tells him to calm down and order some food. Once Sang-yeob has settled a bit, he asks Jin-woo why he made that gamble in the first place. He admits that even if he knew the future, he would never have the nerve for it. Jin-woo simply says he decided to take a leap, then asks if Sang-yeob has ever wanted to bet on a volatile market. Sang-yeob mentions he has been looking into cryptocurrency. It is completely decentralized and highly unstable, yet people all over the world are investing in it. Tae-kyu knows a little about that market. He says many do not buy crypto as a standard investment, but to hide their money from governments. He thinks the smartest way to treat it is like digital gold, a solid asset, not something to buy and sell constantly like stocks. Hearing this triggers a massive vision for Jin-woo. His spirit eagle reveals the next move, investing in Ethereum mining. He asks Tae-kyu what he knows about it. Tae-kyu explains that Ethereum is a newer crypto capable of holding automatic contracts, not just transactions, but he is highly skeptical. They already run an exchange and Ethereum is worth 10 times less than Bitcoin. Jin-woo argues that to compete, they must scale up and invest heavily in this new currency, while also buying Bitcoin separately. He even suggests they could mine it themselves. Tae-kyu points out that requires huge facilities, making the electricity costs simply astronomical, but Jin-woo has an answer. They can find a cold country with cheap power. Park Sang-yeob cannot believe it. They just barely avoided bankruptcy on one crazy gamble, and now Jin-woo wants to jump straight into another one. Jin-woo assures him he has a solid plan, promising details later. Sometime later, Jin-woo is sitting in his university class. The professor is reminding everyone to study hard for final exams. Good grades are not just for graduation. Golden Gate is entering Korea and is actively recruiting top students, though the professor finds it odd they chose to. Setting up a major branch in Gangnam is pretty weird for a giant corporation. Jin-woo finds it weird too, since conglomerates usually stick to Central Seoul. He remembers a hint from Golden Gate and wonders if this is actually all because of him. Just then, Yuri interrupts his deep thoughts. She asks why he is thinking so loudly, but he quickly brushes it off as nothing. Instantly, the professor snaps at them to stop talking. Jin-woo turns red with embarrassment, but Yuri is just thrilled to be sitting next to him. Still, Jin-woo can only think about one major thing today. The Golden Gate team lands in Korea, and he needs to be there. Later, he and Tae-kyu arrive at the airport and immediately stop dead. A huge crowd of reporters is waiting, creating a chaotic red carpet reception, normally saved for superstars. Then Tae-kyu spots the person stepping through the gate, his own sister. He freezes as a reporter asks Hyunju how it feels to be the first Korean heading Golden Gate Korea. Jin-woo and Tae-kyu are totally blindsided by this bombshell. Suddenly, Ellie pulls him aside, whispering that she missed him but warning him to stay discreet. With reporters swarming, they cannot risk his identity getting out. Hyunju quickly adds that her big promotion was supposed to be a total secret. She has no idea how it leaked, but this is not the place to talk. Later, back home, Tae-kyu complains to his sister about keeping him in the dark. She explains she wanted to share the news in person, but reporters ruined the surprise. Jin-woo congratulates her, but she passes all the credit to his companies, which practically forced Golden Gate to expand into South Korea in the first place. Turns out Ellie is also joining the New branch in the legal department, claiming her bosses. Demanded her specific talent to help launch things. Hyunju gives her a knowing look, questioning if that was the real reason she tagged along. Slightly flustered, Ellie stammers she just wanted to support her. Jin-woo senses the subtle tension and steps in, saying it is great to have everyone working together again. Hyunju admits she is totally exhausted and could not sleep a wink, spent the entire flight reviewing critical documents. Her concerned brother tells her to stop overworking, but she proudly claims she is a massive workaholic who loves the grind. Pivoting, she asks if they found a suitable headquarters yet. Jin-woo admits they still have not. Luckily, Hyunju knows that the building right next to Golden Gate is on sale for 500 billion won. Tae-kyu gasps at that price. Wondering why they would ever sell it, his sister explains they need capital for the unexpected launch of the Korean branch, adding they would not sell to some random buyer. This is a favor to Jin-woo. Jin-woo agrees to the deal on the spot, telling Hyunju to handle all the paperwork under K Company. He knows this tower will actually serve as the main base for OTK, since K Company has its own office, standing right beside Golden Gate. Looks incredibly powerful. With that settled, Hyunju turns serious. K Company is currently trending hard after Brexit, and her high-profile promotion makes her a public figure. She asks Jin-woo. Tae-kyu asks Jin-ho how much longer he plans to stay in the shadows. He explains that in Korea, politics, giant corporations, and the media form one massive cartel. If his identity gets out, the cartel will crush him instantly. But get this, his actual strategy is incredibly simple. If you cannot beat them, join them. Ellie asks if he is truly targeting South Korea's massive conglomerates. Jin-ho confirms it. He has suffered under them for too long. Now he wants payback. Hyunju warns him that the country's industry represents their economic backbone, meaning the government will not just sit back and watch him attack it. But Jin-ho is resolved, claiming politics is merely another form of business. Tae-kyu and Ellie both pledge their absolute support, ready to stir up the country's biggest hornet's nest. With his loyal team on board, Jin-ho announces their next move, a trip to the United States to visit Caro's headquarters. Sometime later, Jin-ho is walking through his college campus when he runs into Young Gi-hong, who is thrilled to brag about the highly profitable company he works for. It was nothing when he started, but now his boss just bought a building in Gangnam. He recalls Park Sang-yeob promising they would buy a place on Tehran Road, which seemed impossible back then, but 18 months later, it is a reality. He adds that they got the Golden Gate building for a bargain and even paid in cash, encouraging Jin-ho to graduate quickly so he can join such a successful business. A few math students overhear the conversation and gather around, eager for more stories about the legendary Park Sang-yeob. Young-ho pulls out a corporate card, offering to buy everyone drinks. Jin-ho can only think that it is his own money being spent, and his colleague has absolutely no clue who he is really working for. Just then, Siona approaches him, remembering seeing him at a party after his military service. She says he has changed a lot since then, asking what happened, but Jin-ho cuts her off. He tells her it is none of her business, and whatever happened to him, he certainly does not owe her an explanation. Jin-ho knows from their dating days that Siona is far too perceptive, so he cannot risk saying much without giving the whole game away, trying his best to brush her off. Just then, Yuri walks up and invites him out, celebrating the end of exams. Siona gets the hint and backs away, but not before promising to finish their conversation later. Yuri frames her interruption as a sudden rescue, and now she demands repayment for her service. Honestly, his life is getting overrun by sharp women, and he tells her he has no time, claiming he is about to travel with a friend. Meanwhile, another student named Hwang Jiusang is also talking about Jin-ho. He and his friend are trying to figure out how Jin-ho went from broke to living large in such a short time. Their investigation also includes the O brothers and Park Sang-yeob, but his friend Junyoung feels like they are hitting a wall, so he points out that Hwang Jiusang's father is the Prime Minister of Korea. Surely he could dig up some real information on Jin-ho. Speaking of Jin-ho, he is currently on a first-class flight to the United States with Tae-kyu. While Tae-kyu catches some sleep, Jin-ho gets to work, reviewing the documents Hyunju prepared for him, quickly realizing that his country's largest automaker, Hyundai, has its hands in a lot more than just the automotive industry. Engineering, a Collapse within this company will be catastrophic, even worse than before. After what happened with Samsung, the damage to his home country would be massive. But even knowing that, Jin-woo refuses to back down. After landing in San Francisco, they are met by Henry Smith, a representative from Golden Gate. Smith says he is there on his boss's orders, offering to drive them straight to their hotel. Jin-woo rejects it flatly. He is not here to waste time and wants to go straight to business, so they head right to the Caro's headquarters in Silicon Valley to meet with Darryl Sagan again. Sagan says he was briefed on their latest moves during Brexit, adding that those decisions actually ended up helping Caro's. Tae-kyu plays it cool, saying they were just investing like they always do, but Sagan insists it was exactly what they needed, giving them a much wider margin to work with. He then shows Jin-woo the massive supercomputers they use for AI development, promising a much more detailed demonstration later on. For now, though, it is time for their scheduled meeting. As they enter the conference room, they are greeted by the Caro's staff, including Sergi and Ryan, the two who met them back in Korea. Tae-kyu notes the cold reception, but Jin-woo figures the staff is just shocked by how young they are, probably expecting much older veteran investors. Inside, Jin-woo reviews the reports and spots the problem immediately. Every single dollar poured into Caro's so far has generated absolutely zero results. He finally understands why Hyundai pulled out. If it weren't for his knowledge of the future, he would have done the exact same. Sagan defends their progress, arguing that their technology has to be absolutely perfect. Otherwise, they will just be another face in the crowded self-driving car market. Jin-woo understands the theory, but points out that at this sluggish pace, they will never actually launch a product. Sagan then reveals a potential solution. His company has received major partnership offers from Daimler, AG, Toyota, and Hyundai. The catch is that they all want a stake in Caro's. Sagan makes his case. Even the best software is useless without physical hardware. He needs an actual car to run his AI. Jin-woo sees the CEO has already made up his mind, but he makes it clear he has absolutely no intention of giving up his shares in the company. The Caro's employees are furious, arguing that they cannot move forward without a major partner, but Jin-woo presents a whole new option. If they do not want to be controlled by a giant conglomerate, there is only one way forward. Caro's has to build its own car. Sagan points out the obvious flaws. Building hardware is just as complicated and expensive as software. Besides, no one on their team is an automotive engineer. Tae-kyu counters that his company can easily supply the money, offering to increase their current investment to cover the massive manufacturing costs, but Sagan is still not sold. Money does not solve the whole problem, especially when they do not even know how much this project will cost. And honestly, what Jin-woo plans next is absolute genius. Instead of building a car company from scratch, they will simply acquire one. The estimated capital needed is about $30 billion. He admits that sounds extreme, but assures them he has a plan, which he will share in detail later. After the meeting, he and Tae-kyu head to their hotel. Tae-kyu remarks that the suite is a bit too big for just two people. Their host, Henry, says he will leave them to rest but is available whenever they need him. Once they are finally alone, Tae-kyu asks if his friend has already decided which automaker they are going to buy. Jin-woo explains the political side. Acquiring an American car manufacturer would heavily impact the local economy, meaning the government might interfere for better or for worse. He highlights Tesla, recalling how everyone laughed when they first sold electric cars, but now their massive value threatens the traditional legacy giants. Jin-woo wants to invest heavily in that space, and with all the cash from their last project, the timing is absolutely perfect. Still undecided, Tae-kyu suggests a great dinner might help get the ideas flowing. They locate Henry, who promises to treat them to an amazing steakhouse. He then asks if his grandfather, who is close by, can tag along. The guys agree, and Jin-woo insists the dinner is on him. A little while later, they are at the restaurant ordering their food. Henry's grandfather arrives, and the young man introduces him to the team. The elder says it is a pleasure meeting the CEO of OTK, mentioning he has heard all about him from his friend Southwell. Jin-woo is quite surprised the elite knows him. Henry apologizes for not mentioning this sooner. His grandfather is James Clark Goldman, the powerful head of Golden Gate. Now, understanding everything, Jin-woo says the pleasure is all his, noting that their relationship with Southwell is paying off. Goldman admits that as soon as he heard they landed in America, he rushed over eager to meet them. Jin-woo realizes Henry greeting them at the airport was absolutely no coincidence. The grandfather used his grandson as a bridge for a legendary Wall Street figure to take this much trouble for two young Koreans. They must be making massive waves. Still, Jin-woo remains cautious with his private details, and the wise old man says he understands. Goldman explains that he also avoids the media and unnecessary tension, but then he shares a major secret. He does not actually know how to invest. His market instincts, he admits, are not nearly as sharp as people believe. He is staying out of the spotlight to avoid embarrassment, admitting things are far more complicated now than when he first began. Goldman even reveals that the massive investments credited to his name were actually ideas from various foreign branch presidents that he merely approved. He says his true talent is not in investing but in betting on the right individuals, and for that exact reason he claims he has found someone with the potential to be his next star investor. Goldman admits he has been studying Tae-kyu for a while, highly impressed that he was the first to spot Jin-woo's talent. Jin-woo quickly gives his friend the credit, and the old billionaire envies their strong bond. He then asks if, from now on, he can consider them his friends too. Both men immediately agree. An offer of friendship from a legend like Goldman is not something you turn down. As they raise their glasses, Jin-woo knows this is an incredibly smart move. A connection like this will open countless major doors down the line. The next day, their high-stakes search for an automotive company continues. Jin-woo insists they must be extremely careful with their choice and keep it low-key. Announcing their plans too early would tip off the giant car manufacturers. He lays out the primary strategy. They must focus heavily on the American market. Self-driving vehicles are still highly illegal in Korea, so they cannot sell them there yet. But Jin-woo predicts that once a major giant like Hyundai gets into the game, the local laws will conveniently shift in their favor. He points out the obvious issue. Any auto company actually for sale is either completely bankrupt or lacks good technology. No one sells promising businesses cheap. Just then, Henry arrives with a message from his grandfather. Jin-woo opens the letter from Goldman, realizing it is a hint, and immediately turns on the TV. The news broadcast announces the Republican presidential candidacy of Donald Trump. The letter from Goldman warned him to watch the American election closely because it would directly impact the automotive industry. Jin-woo understands perfectly. He needs to invest in the political administration connected to auto manufacturing, and this priceless hint makes all the difference. Tae-kyu explains that the Democratic ticket is led by Hillary Clinton, a famous politician with a long career. To Tae-kyu, Trump is merely a spoiled millionaire playing at politics for the very first time, and he cannot quite understand how this man became a major candidate. Jin-woo explains that Trump is simply saying what a specific group of people wants to hear while funding the campaign himself. Tae-kyu notes that betting on the obvious winner is not highly valued, but points out that they cannot influence this election like they did with Brexit. The polls show Hillary's victory is guaranteed, putting her ahead by 10%. But right then, Jin-woo gets a sudden vision, a terrifying glimpse of the future that leaves him completely speechless. His friend immediately notices the change, asking what he just saw, still reeling. Jin-woo reveals that he has foreseen the election. He states it as absolute fact. Donald Trump will be the next president. Tae-kyu admits Hillary has a massive advantage, but in politics, literally anything can happen. Jin-woo agrees, saying they are the variable that will change this game. He compares the presidential race to a poker game where everyone holds 4 cards, just waiting for the final reveal. Hillary is holding a strong 4 of a kind, a nearly perfect, and that makes her victory seem totally assured. No small card can improve her position now. Trump, however, has a decent hand, but it remains incomplete. OTK, Jin-woo suggests, could be the final card he needs to win. Tae-kyu realizes a Trump victory would be great for them, seeing no issue with this. But Jin-woo worries a President Trump would throw the entire global economy into absolute chaos. However, his business partner is very quick to remind him how they made fortunes off exploding phones and the near collapse of the British market. Tae-kyu argues that the time to pretend to be virtuous is long over. From now on, they must look out for themselves. With that, Jin-woo is convinced. He agrees to proceed, but with extreme caution, wanting to meet with both sides before the vote. Elsewhere, Hillary is giving An interview to the Wall Street Journal detailing her vision for a better America if she wins. In reality, it is just a media stunt to gather more campaign funding. As soon as it finishes, she tells her strategist Joel Harford to stop booking any more interviews. Back with Jin-woo, he receives the disappointing news that Hillary's team refused to meet. She is out, but Henry reports that Trump is currently campaigning in Los Angeles and has agreed to a quick 15-minute meeting before his flight. Henry still cannot grasp why Jin-woo is meeting with this candidate, but Jin-woo just tells him. Jin-woo meets with a presidential candidate, but keeps things incredibly brief. Jin-woo promises he will understand in time. Soon, they arrive at the meeting spot, getting patted down by security. Inside, Trump reveals he knows Hillary turned them down, which is why he agreed to this meeting. As a fellow businessman, he was curious to see the masterminds behind the famous OTK, and he is surprised to find a young Asian man running the show. Jin-woo finds it highly amusing that Trump calls himself a businessman, a title often used to mock his political seriousness. This confirms Jin-woo's suspicion that Trump sees politics as just another business deal. Trump then asks who Jin-woo's partner is. Jin-woo introduces Tae-kyu as the company's chief operating officer. With formalities finished up, Trump gets straight to the point. Jin-woo offers his support for the campaign, backing the Republicans. Trump immediately asks if Jin-woo thinks he is in trouble and is only here to offer money. Jin-woo knows American elections are basically bought. The candidate with the most cash usually wins, and Trump's funds are barely half the size of his rivals, even with his own money. He cannot compete with the massive corporate donors backing Hillary, but Jin-woo offers him something far more valuable than cash. He claims he can guarantee Donald Trump's path to victory. He points out that Trump is currently trailing in the polls. He loses if nothing changes. Trump just scoffs at the numbers, claiming they're usually wrong, but he's still curious about Jin-woo's offer. Jin-woo brings up Trump's primary campaign promise to rebuild American manufacturing and bring back lost jobs. Candidates always promise miracles they can never deliver, but Jin-woo is here to make it happen. Trump asks what exactly is being offered. Jin-woo calmly states he can turn that massive campaign promise into real results. All Trump needs to do is accept his backing. Donald Trump is absolutely stunned. It was the absolute last thing he expected. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Hyun-ju is losing her mind. The media is in a complete frenzy, and she wants to know what they were thinking by backing Donald Trump. Her brother weakly replies that it was entirely Jin-woo's master plan. He was simply trusting his partner, but Hyun-ju points out that Trump isn't just announcing OTK's support. He's using it to spark wild conspiracy theories and rumors. Jin-woo defends his move, arguing that a Trump presidency will benefit them greatly since of his promise to heavily support the auto industry, but that only matters if he actually wins. Hyun-ju fires back, noting that every single poll predicts a massive loss. Jin-woo, however, remains completely unshaken. No doubts, he wouldn't have backed them. Otherwise, he explains that the American electoral system does not rely on a direct popular vote, meaning those polls cannot be taken at face value. Hyun-ju can tell he is dead serious, but she still thinks this is a terrible mistake. Elsewhere, at a rowdy campaign rally, Donald Trump makes his case. He claims Hillary is selling America out to foreign interests while he is the only one who can save the tanking economy. A woman yells from the crowd, calling him a liar for recently meeting with OTK, a foreign enterprise. Trump openly admits it is true, but claims he only took the meeting because local companies completely refused to support his vision. He boldly announces he will use the $20 billion from OTK to reopen Detroit's closed auto plants, rebuild the city, spark massive employment. The woman remains highly skeptical, accusing him of making empty promises he can never keep. To prove he's dead serious, Trump invites the governor of Michigan onto the on stage, a rival politician, by the way. Butler confirms that every single word Trump says is true. The state government is already talking to OTK, meaning those massive investments start soon. Trump promises to bring America right back to the top, even if he must negotiate with foreign rivals. The crowd goes completely wild. Watching from home, Jin-woo thinks this political rally feels more like a rock concert. Still, he admits the candidate played this perfectly. Now they wait to see how the competition fires back. During a strategic meeting with Karos, Jin-woo lays out his bold new strategy for the American auto market. The tech lab stays put, but he is moving the main company headquarters directly to Detroit. Sagan asks if they are just getting swallowed up by a massive manufacturing company. Jin-woo smiles and says it is actually the other way around. Caros will buy the manufacturer. This shifts them from a simple software developer into a massive vehicle assembly giant, with OTK pulling the strings as the parent company. Jin-woo tells Sagan he believes in him and is absolutely confident that under his watch this brand new venture will make everyone rich. He then takes the opportunity to drop a major bombshell. He is not just some representative. He is the actual CEO of OTK, and his buddy is the COO. He promises to focus on business and leave the tech development alone because he completely trusts Sagan to lead the team. Sagan thanks him for this massive show of faith and promises to deliver. Jin-woo then announces they are raising Caro's capital to $20 billion, with the executive team getting 4% of that value. Sagan does not argue. He knows that to truly dominate the car industry, they must build their own rides instead of outsourcing such a critical step. And since Caro's is American, this move was inevitable anyway. To celebrate this massive win, Tae-kyu suggests ordering some pizza. Sagan mentions Silicon Valley has a new hotspot called M Pizza that just hit the market. Tae-kyu instantly recognizes that specific name. Wait, that is the exact same pizza startup they just invested in. His very first thought, do they get a discount as the majority shareholders? Back at the hotel, Jin-woo lays out their next massive target, Chrysler. The PTA group put the struggling auto giant on the block 3 years ago. This whole mess actually started right after Chrysler suffered a disastrous failed merger with Daimler. That is when KIA stepped in with a major bailout, acquiring Chrysler to form the PTA group. Tae-kyu is completely baffled. How could two massive giants mess up this badly? Jin-woo explains that KIA never quite managed to crack Europe. When struggling brands unite, they usually just sink. Henry adds a crucial detail. They did not even share basic parts or manufacturing platforms. That killed their margins and left them with zero cash to invest in electric vehicles or self-driving tech. But for Caros, this is perfect. Buying Chrysler now means they can completely rebuild it. Jin-woo wants a flight to Detroit immediately, but Henry tells him that is not going to be necessary. Instead, he reveals a brand new private jet, theirs to use whenever they want. Up in the air, they toast to their fancy upgrade, but Henry cuts straight to the chase. Does Jin-woo truly believe Donald Trump can win this election? Jin-woo is totally certain. He asks why Henry is being so skeptical. Henry points out that their endorsement completely flips the entire race. Jin-woo just smiles. He cannot reveal the entire plan just yet, asking them for a little patience. Later, they meet up with Ellie and Hyunju, who both look completely exhausted. Hyunju explains it is because of OTK's relentless pace lately. Jin-woo apologizes and formally introduces Henry. The women are stunned to be shaking hands with the grandson of their own company's CEO. Henry turns on the charm, clearly impressed by Ellie. Tae-kyu quietly nudges Jin-woo, warning him that Henry might make a move on her first. Jin-woo, however, only thinks about work. Hyunju gets straight down to business. The factory site is secured, and the state is handling infrastructure and tax breaks. Now, the TPA representatives are on their way for a meeting. She is not worried about negotiating itself. TPA is desperate to unload an unprofitable asset. Her real concern is the US election. The whole world is watching. She says most people in Korea think Trump has no chance. Worse, Trump's public praise has already revealed that OTK owns Caros, bringing them a massive flood of sudden, unwanted attention. But Jin-woo only sees the silver lining. Powerful US allies are crucial for their real goal, taking on the biggest conglomerate in Korea, and having the American president in their corner would change everything. Still, Hyunju counters that this only works if Trump wins, which is a massive long shot, but she knows Jin-woo well enough not to argue. Ellie chimes in, saying that just like with Brexit, she will trust her boss's seemingly crazy plan. Tae-kyu confirms he is in it for the long haul. Suddenly, Henry gets a message about a meeting request from Hillary Clinton's office, routed through Golden Gate. He asks if Jin-woo is interested. Jin-woo is. He is curious what they want. Later, Jin-woo and Ellie sit down with Joel, Clinton's chief of staff. Joel does not waste time. He says Hillary likes OTK's investments, but has some concerns and wants them to delay signing the deals. Jin-woo asks what is in it for him since everything is Already ready to go, Joel lays out the politics, most governors in the rust. Belt are Democrats, a win for Hillary would be better for everyone. As president, she could push through favorable laws with local support. He admits his job is to secure her victory. With OTK's backing, she is a sure thing. Jin-woo says he's open to a deal, but trust is absolutely everything. He asks how big Hillary's heart really is. Joel promises it is huge. If OTK officially endorses her, he will give them his full support as chief of staff. Jin-woo turns him down flat. He has already given his word to Trump, and he builds his business on mutual trust. After the meeting, Ellie wants to know why Jin-woo did not just accept the proposal. Jin-woo explains his logic. You cannot trust a politician's word, but Donald Trump is a businessman, and Jin-woo knew from their first meeting that a man like that would never refuse his offer. Ellie points out the risk. If Trump loses, OTK's U.S. business is done, but Jin-woo counters with a grin. If Trump wins, every single door opens for them. Even if he does not get elected, by then OTK will have grown so much it will not need political backing anymore. Sometime later, Park Sang-yeob calls from Korea. He reports that K Company has moved into its new building and asks when Jin-woo is coming back. Jin-woo tells him the team will return soon and that he will lay out his plans in person. Meanwhile, Tae-kyu suggests he tells everyone to take a break, asking his sister to dress a bit more casually outside the office. She simply replies that she is always working, which sums her up perfectly. Right at that moment, Jin-woo's phone starts ringing. It is the chief executive of Golden Gate, warning that OTK really stirred things up in Washington. He admits Hillary seemed like the logical choice, but he knows Jin-woo never plays by the book. Now he is not even sure she will win. Jin-woo says that with a little help from James, he put his money on Trump. In return, James asks for a favor. He wants Jin-woo to hire his grandson Henry at the OTK company. He admits he has not even pitched the idea to Henry yet, but he is positive the kid will jump at it. Lately, Henry keeps talking about how incredible it is working with Jin-woo. James signs off with a warning. OTK's backing of Trump has put them dead in the crosshairs, and Jin-woo needs to prepare for the fallout. After hanging up, Jin-woo asks his team what they think about hiring Henry. Tae-kyu is completely on board, noting they need fresh blood, and Henry has been incredibly helpful so far. Hyun-ju agrees. As the heir to Goldman, the kid is way overqualified to work at OTK. The offer goes out, and Henry accepts instantly. Hyun-ju wastes zero time, handing him a massive stack of paperwork to get started. Henry is absolutely thrilled, promising to give it his all. Hyun-ju notes his bright energy makes him look somewhat useful. Meanwhile, back at the Blue House in South Korea, President Park Geun-hye calls in the director of the National Intelligence Service. She points out that a local company is making major waves globally, and she is thrilled to see a powerful investment firm rising at home. But there is a catch. The source of their initial funding is a total mystery. She orders the director to dig into K Company for any links to North Korean cash. The intelligence chief, Yoon Si-won, runs a fast check and finds zero trace of northern interference. Still, he uses the official order as perfect cover to unlawfully scrape together files on both K Company and OTK. Armed with this data, he gets it totally wrong. Classic rookie mistake. He assumes Park Sang-yeob is a figurehead leader, while Jin-woo is just his glorified personal secretary, enjoying a life of luxury on his buddy's dime. Not only that, he concludes OTK is the actual mastermind pulling all the strings. The true leader of OTK. After reading this wild report, the president find it pretty hard to believe the brain behind OTK is a kid who never even stepped foot in college. Yoon Si-won suggests Tae-kyu is a sleeper genius. Looking at his sister's legendary track record, it is not much of a stretch. The president admits he has a point. Real genius does not require a degree, which explains Tae-kyu's total lack of an academic history, but she is still hung up on Jin-woo. She is convinced he is no mere freeloader and that their investigation definitely overlooked something massive. Yoon Si-won explains that if she wants to dig any deeper, she is going to need a warrant. President thanks him, promising to make a quick call. Elsewhere, Han Minggu, the chairman of Hyundai, reviews the latest news on OTK. He has to admit, buying Car OS simply to leverage it into acquiring a major car manufacturer was bold. His son, Vice Chairman Han Chan-young, points out that while Car OS boasts superior tech, their manufacturing is heavily bound by legislation. But Minggu He points out that if Donald Trump wins, laws will change fast. This easily hands OTK a massive advantage. Chan Young remains skeptical. Best case scenario, KOS grabs a slice of America. That is it. Breaking into Korea is completely out of the question. Han Minggu disagrees, though. This is not about today. Shareholders are absolutely furious about this betrayal. A past investment is becoming their biggest rival. Chan Young must watch them closely. Shortly after, Han Minggu gets a call. It is the president. The leader assumes Minggu is already tracking both OTK and K Company. He details everything his private investigation uncovered so far. The president demands they prepare a devastating, highly proportional response right now. Meanwhile, the OTK team takes a quick break in America. Suddenly, Jin-woo gets an incredibly strange text, an unknown sender. The message demands a call back using a secure phone. He borrows Henry's. Park Sang-yup answers. He warns that the entire team must ditch their phones. They must stop using real names immediately. Their lines are fully compromised. Then comes the crushing blow. State prosecutors just raided K Company. Armed with warrants, they are seizing physical and digital records. National Intelligence Service authorized this total sweep of the building. Even worse, they face serious charges of violating foreign exchange laws. A long list of other offenses makes everyone a government target. Jin-woo knows this is no ordinary audit, it is a witch hunt. Park Sang-yup reassures him that their key data is safe on foreign cloud servers. However, he is currently being taken in by authorities for intense questioning. Jin-woo tells him to stay safe and call using this secure line. He hangs up, looks at his crew. They are in massive trouble. Hearing this, Henry is stunned. Such a raid should be illegal. Tae-kyu sighs. In Korea, rules are different. Hyun-ju analyzes the situation. Perhaps the spy agency was tracking K Company and stumbled on OTK. But Jin-woo knows better. This swift, high-level operation is calculated. A heavy strike like this only means one thing. PIS is involved. Ellie is completely lost. She has no idea what PIS is. Tae-kyu explains they manufacture basic car parts, but misses the deeper connection. Jin-woo spells it out. 90% of their money comes from Hyundai. And President Park Geun-hye was the actual CEO of Hyundai before entering politics. He legally cannot hold any stock now, but his family is deeply connected. Hyun-ju instantly puts the puzzle together. This is a clear warning. The president will utterly crush anyone threatening his old home turf. Henry finally sees the terrifying scale of the entire conflict. If Trump wins and raises tariffs, all foreign exporters will suffer. Ellie finishes his thought. The government is trying to kneecap OTK. They are using K Company as an excuse. Jin-woo makes a choice. He is going back to Korea. K Company needs a leader. The girls know it is dangerous, but they are going too. The guys refuse to back down either. They are staying together. Jin-woo would rather fight than run. He will end this war himself. Right before boarding his flight back to Korea, Jin-woo calls up Donald Trump. He breaks down the chaotic situation, promising their massive investments won't slow down. They'll meet face-to-face once the election is completely wrapped up, but Ellie remains deeply worried. When a future president tells you to watch your back, things are incredibly bad. Jin-woo doesn't deny it. The Korean president himself is calling the shots here. He is fully prepared to find himself locked in handcuffs the second they land in Seoul. The crew is stunned. Is he seriously just walking right into a trap? He has his reasons, plus he hasn't broken any laws. Even if they hold him, it will be brief, and his secret backup plan is ready. If everything goes completely sideways, Hyun-ju takes full control. The state won't risk attacking a Golden Gate employee without a rock-solid, perfect excuse. That easily makes her the safest person there, though Tae-kyu knows he is targeted too. Yet the guy seems completely unfazed as their plane finally lands back in South Korea. Silence at first. Tae-kyu thinks they might have just been overly paranoid. But Henry cuts him off, spotting several suspicious men who have been tailing them. Jin-woo flat out refuses to run, giving his team a very strict and direct order. No matter what happens to him, they must stick to their tight schedule. They need to hold out until the U.S. election wraps up. He surrenders. But to their absolute shock, the government agents walk right past him with zero interest. They grab Tae-kyu instead, arresting him on the spot as OTK's leader. The charge, alleged violations of national financial management laws. A furious Hyun-ju demands to know who they are, but they just coldly flash a warrant. There from the prosecution, Jin-woo watches his buddy take the hit. Trying to step in for his friend, Jin-woo is stopped by Tae-kyu's calm look. Tae-kyu openly admits he is the boss, telling Jin-woo to finish the job. A quick joke about grabbing a meal later is all he leaves them with. Once outside the terminal, Yoongi-hong meets up with the remaining crew. Park Sang-yup is already being interrogated elsewhere. His instructions are to follow Hyun-ju now, but he's pretty confused. The man is completely lost on where their missing fifth group member could possibly be. He will explain later. Right now, he just needs a ride. During the drive, Hyun-ju keeps her cool and starts analyzing the moves. As painful as it is, losing their main leader would have ruined everything they built. Her brother clearly realized that, choosing to sacrifice his own freedom. Her focus immediately shifts to raw defense strategy, ordering Ellie to hire the absolute best lawyers. Get the absolute best legal defense team. They messed with the wrong family. She's going to make them regret this move, but K Company is already completely ruined. The office is completely ransacked, computers and files are thrown everywhere. While Golden Gate only got polite cooperation letters, K Company endured a destructive, full-on raid. Jin-woo asks if Golden Gate's office next door has any empty floors. Then she confirms they have space. He orders the entire K Company staff to pack up. Their operations relocate immediately. Luckily, all vital data is safely cloud secured. They're still fully functional, seeing the shocked faces of the confused staff. He steps up, introducing himself as their leader, until Park Sang-yup can make his return. Shortly after, Hyun-ju hands him a highly secure phone from Golden Gate. His old contact line is compromised and untrustworthy, the reality of being watched. Finally hits Jin-woo. He admits he is not sure if they should proceed with their plan. Hyun-ju immediately calls him out on his hesitation, asking if he has a viable alternative. Jin-woo does not have a solid answer, but she insists they must keep moving forward since Tae-kyu is counting on them, while she cannot use the same legal methods as the Korean intelligence service in the world of high finance. Cash is the ultimate weapon. She immediately contacts the legal team at Golden Gate with a clear directive to investigate every possible connection between President Park Geun-hye and Hyundai. Observing this, Jin-woo realizes that this ruthless side of his partner is genuinely terrifying. He suspects even the President of the Republic would be terrified if she knew who she was actually. Crossing with Tae-kyu locked up in custody, Park Sang-yup is finally released. He rejoins the team and quickly picks up on an odd detail. Jin-woo still has not revealed to Young-hyun that he is the actual chief executive. Jin-woo admits he has been far too busy focusing entirely on his friend's arrest and scrambling to get him out. Fortunately, Tae-kyu is keeping quiet and holding strong, refusing to talk. Meanwhile, investigators probe into the funding of OTK and a potential insider trading scandal involving Samsung, but Jin-woo remains confident. They lack real evidence. They simply want to keep Tae-kyu locked up until the presidential election in America concludes. Park Sang-yup understands their strategy, but he also knows they made one fatal mistake. They arrested the wrong guy. Jin-woo looks at it another way. That sacrifice bought them much-needed extra time, and he has absolutely no intention of squandering it. Jumping back into action, Jin-woo confirms the car manufacturer they are acquiring is in terrible shape, but tells Karos to push forward with their original plan regardless. Sagan remains confident that integrating their technology will allow the company to dominate the American market. With that matter fully resolved, Jin-woo focuses on his next play. The Korean government wants to stall him, but he is going to do the complete opposite. He is prepared to spend every single dollar in his possession. Their intel shows Donald Trump surging in the polls, though victory is far from guaranteed. Everything rides on two vital swing states, Pennsylvania and Ohio. To tip the scales, Jin-woo injects extra $5 billion of investment directly into those two states. Soon after, Hillary's chief of staff places an angry call to the South Korean president, demanding answers on why he was promised that OTK's investments would be blocked. Now, Donald Trump is getting a $5 billion boost in Pennsylvania, and they desperately want to trace the source of that money. President Park Geun-hye insists this is impossible. The CEO of OTK is locked up, and even his lawyer visits are strictly monitored. The president assumes the only person capable of pulling this off. His absence is his older sister, Oh Hyun-ju. Upon hearing this, Joel realizes the Intelligence does not add up at all. He demands a photo of the arrested man. The moment he looks at Tae-kyu, he knows this is not the real CEO of OTK. The man he met was entirely different. He informs the president that the person he dealt with introduced himself as Mr. Kang, not Tae-kyu. Just like that, the president of South Korea realizes the massive scale of her mistake. The real target was right under his nose this whole time. Meanwhile, at a lavish banquet, the Hwang Jusung, the son of the prime minister, is holding court with his girlfriend, a rising actress named Yoon So-hee, sitting across from them. Junyoung is there with his girlfriend, Yoon Seona. Jusung just scoffs at the news. It is ridiculous that some 20-year-old nerd is causing a major political crisis. Junyoung admits it is shocking, but he points out that this kid rattled all of Washington with one single move. Jusung finds it all hilarious. He figures this explains where Jin-woo got his massive funding for that game. He was clearly just working for Tae-kyu. Junyoung smugly declares that the party is over, with their golden goose in prison. Jin-woo is totally broke, but his ex, Yoon Seona, is not sure. The Tae-kyu she knew when she was dating Jin-woo was never mastermind material. He could never run a massive global operation. She remembers how much Jin-woo changed back then, and it had to mean something. Then Seona stuns them by announcing that Jin-woo is not who they think. She is sure he is the actual leader here, not Tae-kyu. Yusang tells her she is giving Jin-woo far too much credit. His elite contacts all confirm that Tae-kyu runs the entire show. Still, Seona insists Jin-woo is not the type to work for anyone, let alone ride his best friend's coattails. Speaking of our main character, Jin-woo tells his crew he has found a way to save his friend. When they ask what his move is, his answer is simple. He will hold a press conference and blow the lid off everything. On their way to the venue, Hyunju warns him that this news will shock everyone, especially the people who do not know his true power. She asks if he should give a warning first. Jin-woo figures Yuri will be furious if she hears it on TV. And she is not the only one. Later, he arrives at his mother's home to formally introduce his team. His mother can tell something is very wrong, immediately asking what kind of mess he has gotten into this time. Jin-woo gently suggests they head inside. Before long, the word of his upcoming press conference breaks the news, grabbing global attention. Over at the intelligence agency, Yoon Siwan is completely stumped. He needs to know what Jin-woo is planning. An assistant reports that their agents have been tailing him for days, but he is not even trying to hide. Siwan finds this bizarre. A company under surveillance should be keeping quiet, but OTK is doing the exact opposite. He decides to shut them down, but then hesitates. If the company has not actually broken any laws, the intelligence agency is going to face a massive storm. He is terrified they will drop a major bomb, so he decides to silence them first. No matter what it takes, he calls the prosecutor general to get him to shut the whole event down, but the prosecutor shuts him down. He reminds Siwan that because of his agency, they already arrested the wrong guy, leaving a huge mess. One more mistake and they will all face a full-scale investigation for abuse of power, with no help from the prosecutor. Siwan orders his own operatives to stop the press conference at all costs, even if they have to cut the power completely. Back with Jin-woo's team, Hyunju reports that everything is set on her end. Jin-woo tells her to stick to the plan until the American elections are over. If he gets locked up, they will communicate through lawyers. He also wants them to thank his friend for sacrificing himself, but they must explain the whole situation to Tae-kyu. Ellie points out that for a guy taking a huge risk, Jin-woo is shockingly calm. She actually finds it pretty charming. Before he can move forward, Jin-woo's phone rings from a restricted number, a creepy voice on the other end warns him to cancel the press conference, even offering a deal. But Jin-woo says any chance of making a deal died the moment dragged his friend away. He hangs up and snaps his phone in half. Right now, Jin-woo is ready to go all in. He promises himself he won't come back empty-handed. And then Jin-woo steps right up to a massive press conference representing the OTK company. He kicks things off with what everyone already knows. Their subsidiary K company was raided, and the supposed CEO of OTK was grabbed at the airport. But then he drops the real bombshell. His team's money was secretly being tracked in their phones tapped long before any of that happened. When a reporter demands proof, Jin-woo whips out photos from his own private Investigators clearly showing agents from the national security system. He declares the entire operation totally illegal and has the names of the individuals and their specific agencies. Jin-woo frames this whole mess as straight-up political persecution, claiming it all started the exact moment they announced financial backing for a United States presidential candidate. The absolute biggest proof, he says, is that the guy arrested at the airport is not the real CEO of OTK. The authorities just grabbed the first person they could find. Naturally, the press begs to know who the real CEO is. Without missing a single beat, Jin-woo announces to all the cameras that he is the real CEO of the company, and he is ready to answer every question. Talk about a mic drop, the room immediately erupts into chaos. Watching this unfold on TV, Jin-woo's mother feels physically sick for her son. The warnings he gave her earlier suddenly feel terrifyingly real. The shockwave even hits Jin-woo's university, where classmates instantly recognize him on the broadcast and scream to everyone that Jin-woo is the CEO of OTK, while the students are completely stunned. Yuri is the only one unfazed. Jin-woo had already filled her in on everything, but the person most shocked by the news is Sae Yune. She knew he was mixed up in something massive, but wanted to hear it directly from him, and he had flat out refused during their last meeting. Meanwhile, Lee Sung-kin, the powerful owner of a major news outlet, watches the broadcast and thinks Jin-woo has completely lost his mind. His company had been invited, but blew it off as a joke. A colleague suggests they should have taken it more seriously, pointing to a mysterious document about OTK that arrived in the mail. Lee Sung-kin does not care, but after making a few calls, he realizes that file was sent exclusively to them. He figures OTK targeted his outlet specifically because of his well-known clashes with the current president of Korea. On that basis, he decides to give them a shot, if it means a chance to drag the president down. He will publish the story. Speaking of the president, Park Joon-hye is also watching the broadcast. He claims he never wanted to destroy OTK, just send a warning to keep them in line. He had actually hoped they could work together after the American elections, but the game has completely flipped. He grabs his phone, calling his media chief with orders to contact every willing outlet. Everyone cooperates. Later, the prosecutor who lost Tae-kyu tries getting to work, only to find reporters swarming the entire building. He ignores them. He storms straight into the interrogation room. Furious, the prosecutor demands to know who leaked the articles connecting Pa and the president. Jin-woo just sits there calmly, ready with a much better question. Did prosecutor Kim Kyung-jun arrest him on direct presidential orders? The prosecutor immediately tries pulling rank, snapping back that he makes the rules. But Jin-woo is not intimidated at all. He slowly brings up an old story from years back about a firm named Athena, famous for their scary accurate predictions. Their financial forecasts were so good they actually started making the government nervous. The lead prosecutor at the time used the state's full power to crush Athena, spreading outright lies and baseless accusations. Athena was eventually proven completely innocent in court, but the corrupt officials had already gotten what they wanted. Jin-woo points out that the dirty prosecutor was never punished. In fact, he got promoted to prosecutor general, and now Kim Kyung-jun is about to make the same mistake. Furious, the prosecutor asks if Jin-woo thinks his entire office is a joke. Jin-woo flips it right back, saying the prosecutor's office is the one treating Korean citizens like a joke. And unlike Asina, he has more than enough money to fight back. Jin-woo lays out a terrifying hypothetical. He could meet privately with the president and offer to invest 1 trillion won in Pa, his only condition exposing all of Kim Kyung-jun's dirty secrets. Talk about a brutal counterattack. Kim Kyung-jun would be hunted as the worst criminal in Korea. Not even his wife and children would be safe. Jin-woo explains that even without proof, national security would lock up his family just for the cash. Just like they did to Tae-kyu, the threat lands heavy. Kim Kyung-jun tries to regain his composure, reminding Jin-woo that he is recording this whole conversation to use as blackmail. Jin-woo just smiles, saying he was only kidding. After all, the president would never fire a prosecutor as honest as Kim Kyung-jun. Now the prosecutor is genuinely terrified. He realizes Jin-woo's chillingly calm attitude means he can back up every single word. Elsewhere, Lee Sung-kyan's assistant reports their website is down again. They cannot rely on domestic servers anymore. Lee Sung-kyan knows Powerful forces are hunting them, so he orders his team to pivot to social media and podcasts, no more private sites. They quickly launch a podcast exposing the shocking accusations against the president and the entire Korean government. The massive bombshell is that the president is the secret owner of PA, a crime that could get Park Geun-hye kicked straight out of office. Hearing this, Park Geun-hye panics. He made a massive mistake by provoking OTK. Now, he is praying Donald Trump loses the upcoming U.S. election because that would bring even bigger trouble. Meanwhile, in a tense U.S. debate, Hillary accuses OTK of being a corrupt foreign company using dirty money to funding her opponent's campaign instead. Trump fires back, defending OTK as an American company, arguing that Korean ownership does not make their operations illegal. They trade heavy blows, but Trump is clearly winning over the crowd. Meanwhile, back in Korea, Yoon Si-wan receives a report that his team found nothing illegal connected to OTK or its subsidiary. He sees the media as siding with OTK, and they cannot keep throwing accusations around without real proof. The investigation is officially stalled. At OTK headquarters, Jin-woo's lawyer informs the team that the CEO wants them to see this plan through to the very end. Hyun-ju adds that she convinced Golden Gate to support Jin-woo's decision, making Donald Trump's victory basically a sure thing. According to Jin-woo's strategy, a Trump victory will tank the stock market while cryptocurrency values absolutely skyrocket. Park Sang-yup notes that OTK is already positioned to profit from massive investments in Bitcoin and Ethereum, but wonders how reliable their source is. Hyun-ju confirms it is rock solid. The head of Golden Gate himself personally ordered his company to back Jin-woo's play. Sang-yup is floored. Jin-woo is operating on a level where even the legendary Golden Gate boss is personally backing him. As a team, they have no choice but to follow their boss's lead. Prosecutor Kim Kyung-jun argues there is no reason to lock Jin-woo up. He tries to convince his superior to change the direction of this investigation, but his boss makes it clear this is not about justice. The whole point is to keep Jin-woo locked up until the U.S. election is over. That is when Kim Kyung-jun realizes his bosses do not care about the law at all, just personal gain. He is completely powerless, so he can only hope Hillary wins the U.S. election. Back with Jin-woo, he finds it strange to just sit around idle after being so used to his busy routine. He wonders if he is turning into a workaholic like Hyun-ju. An investigator demands Jin-woo answer questions honestly, but Jin-woo tells him there is nothing left to say since he is not even being accused of anything anymore. Besides, he knows the detective is only stalling for time until the U.S. election ends. The vote count has already started. Instead of sitting idle, he asks the detective to get him a pen and some paper to write a message. Meanwhile, the U.S. vote count begins, and at first, all signs point to a Hillary victory. She celebrates, confident that everything is going exactly as planned, even starting to write her victory speech. Meanwhile, back in Korea, Jin-woo gets his pen and asks how the election is going. The guard claims he cannot discuss it, but from his tense reaction, Jin-woo figures results from the heavy industrial areas are still delayed. He guesses Hillary is in the lead for now, but knows his team is already making their move to flip the board entirely. He is right. The entire OTK team is working flat out. Even though they cannot contact Jin-woo, they track the live vote in real time. Ellie reports that Hillary has practically swept the entire West Coast with a slight lead elsewhere. Even so, Hyun-ju says they are sticking to the plan. Admitting this feels way more stressful than the Brexit vote was. Jin-woo runs through his strategy. Having met Trump in person, he could see the exact motivations driving voters to either side, but the core lesson was simple. If something is truly out of reach, let it go without any hesitation. On that foundation, they ran an operation spreading Donald Trump's message only the areas of absolute highest impact. He doesn't need every state, just the ones that truly matter. Watching the results roll in, Tae-kyu sees the tide turn, realizing his best friend was right all along. Even Hillary is utterly shocked to see Florida go straight to her opponent, and with that, Donald Trump secures the majority of key states. He is now the president of the United States. When he hears the news, the Korean president completely loses his mind. The unthinkable just happened. He calls the prosecutor, saying the plan to lock up Jin-woo failed, ordering his immediate release. Over in Hillary Clinton's camp, everyone is in complete disbelief, but Joel Knows Trump didn't win this alone. He had massive outside financial help, the real reason they lost, he admits, was failing to stop a single investor. Meanwhile, Jin-woo notices a strange shift in his guard's behavior, immediately putting two and two together. Donald Trump won. A moment later, he gets the official news. The prosecutor's office is dropping every single charge against Jin-woo. In his entire firm, he's officially free. As he steps out, a guard tells Jin-woo to avoid the main entrance, which is swarming with reporters. Jin-woo gets it. A media circus would only humiliate the prosecutors, making them look completely incompetent. Jin-woo knows the prosecutor's office made this massive blunder themselves. Yet his staff gets stuck taking the heat. To spare them the trouble, he agrees to slip out the back. Besides, he has zero desire to see his face on the evening news anyway. Outside, he reunites with his best friend Tae-kyu, who hands him some warm food, knowing he must be absolutely starving. While eating, Jin-woo asks how his mother is doing. Tae-kyu quickly assures him she's safe and completely out of danger. Right then, Ellie rushes out of the car, crying from pure relief. She throws her arms around Jin-woo, sobbing about how terrified she was thinking about what they might have done to him. Jin-woo gently reassures her that she has absolutely nothing to worry about. Park Sun-jiup cuts in, suggesting they get out there and save the deep catch-up for later. In the car, Jin-woo asks how much profit they pulled from Trump's victory. Park Sun-jiup confirms it is nearly $3 billion. Then wonders why Jin-woo didn't pull the same stunt during Brexit. Jin-woo lays out his strategy. The United Kingdom is resilient enough to absorb that shock, but Mexico will take a brutal, long-term hit. Jin-woo has no interest in making enemies of entire countries. To scale his global empire, he needs strong partners, not a reputation for crashing foreign markets. On their drive, Jin-woo spots a massive new detail and asks what his buddy has been plotting. Tae-kyu grins proudly. After that massive press conference, he decided they needed a real permanent statement, so he had their signature logo bolted right onto the skyscraper. When Jin-woo arrives, he finds Hyunju waiting inside. Jin-woo thanks her for managing everything while he was locked up. She reveals that Donald Trump's chief of staff called, requesting Jin-woo reach out. The second he got released, Jin-woo replies that he already took care of that on the car ride over. The new president-elect is incredibly grateful for the massive backing. With that out of the way, Jin-woo asks what their next play is. Hyunju notes their biggest threat isn't in the United States, but right here in Korea. Tae-kyu adds that President Park Geun-hye is facing a historic impeachment and could soon be ousted. Hyunju believes they need to actively fund the president's removal, especially after everything Geun-hye connects her brother and Jin-woo. After all, it is the least he deserves. Jin-woo knows he won't be returning to college anytime soon, so he decides to keep running things from the office. He even plans on bringing in more staff. Right after the scandal, Golden Gate puts together a heavy legal team to protect their clients from any political heat. Meanwhile, President Park Geun-hye's approval rating hits